Lee, and we're going to talk about what the expectations are heading into regional finals this weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know you've been playing TFT for a long time, but when did you start, and what do you like about TFT?
I actually started playing before Set 1 was released, so on PBE. League was my main game back then, so it was sort of a big deal when Riot released TFT. It was sort of their first non-league game, or at least of that scale, because I think maybe they had released a single player game by then. But anyways, yeah, it was just something that I tried out, and it was sort of a on and off thing. I would play some sets and then not play some sets, but I think I started seriously playing in set 7, which is the first set that I hit Challenger, and that's also the first set where I started competing. Yeah, ever since then I've kind of just been playing in all the tournaments that I can and seeing where it takes me.
Yeah, seeing where it takes you, definitely to some heights that we've seen. Do you do TFT competing on the side to a day job?
Yeah, so I graduated from school almost 2 years ago now. So when I had started competing, I was doing that. That was like the first couple of years. And then, yeah, so since 2024, I've been doing TFT as sort of my main thing. And I mean, honestly, it was only going to be a temporary thing. And it still might only be a temporary thing. But I think last year was like super successful for me. Competitively make a lot more money than maybe I would have expected. So it's kind of bought me some more time in my mind where it feels like this is something that I can do for a longer time before getting a real job per se.
For sure. And do you enjoy the streaming aspect that happens with TFT as well?
Yeah, it's sort of a love-hate relationship with me. Like for me, I really am motivated by like the competitive side. I really like playing in the tournaments. I enjoy sort of like the level of competition. So for me, like playing ladder in general is just less enjoyable, which is like most of the sort of games that you'll be playing if you stream a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do, for people that are like super tapped into competitive TFT, they might know that I will stream scrims a lot, like before tournaments, just like no mic, no cam, just pretty much only gameplay. And then I'll be answering some questions in chat if people ask, because like my goal is I sort of just want it to be like for people that are wanting to improve a lot or be able to compete at a super high level. It's something that they can just sort of review and look at and ask questions. But I don't enjoy just like streaming ladder as much, just because I think it's just less interesting for me personally. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a bunch of sense. So with that, how has your preparation been for this weekend? We did have the patch that came out. Did that impact anything like in your playstyle specifically, or have you been able to adapt pretty well?
Yeah, honestly, it's sort of been a rough transition because last cup was roughly a month ago on patch 16.4, and I felt pretty well prepared. I mean, even though I didn't do well, I did feel very prepared for that, and I felt like I was pretty good at that patch. But after that, I pretty much like went on a vacation and didn't play TFT for 2 weeks. So I didn't play 16.5 at all, which has been the live patch for the last 2 weeks. So I'm essentially 2 patches behind, and 16.6, as we know, is like a huge change to all the unlocks, lots of augments. Like people have been calling it like the mid-set update, like 16.5. So it's definitely been tougher than I expected to like get myself back up to speed. Like the first couple of days of playing was super rough. I just felt like I was a chicken with the head cut off. Like I just aimlessly choosing lines and just sort of executing poorly. But the last like day and a half, I feel like I've sort of come to grasp what's going on. And then obviously today, now that the patch is out on live servers, there's lots of stats to study, and so I'm sort of like affirming what I knew about the patch and also learning new things. My grasp of the patch is still evolving, but I definitely feel like I'm getting closer to where I want to be for this weekend. It's actually crazy because there's been the Project PBE,
Hmm.
which Kai, who's like one of the big streamers in TFT, he runs like during every PBE cycle, but he brought it back for this patch just because it's such a big update. And so there's been players from all of the major regions all playing together. So it's sort of been a bigger event than I expected. Just like being able to play with so many international players like on demand has been a huge help. And then
Hmm.
obviously there's like some organized scrim blocks that happen in the morning. It's like 5 a.m. my time because I'm on the west coast of the US, which is like tough to wake up for, but also it's um yeah, it's scrims with top international players, so it's something that I feel like I definitely want to do to get myself into top shape. So that's what I've been up to for sure.
But yeah, 5 a.m. is pretty early. I suppose you could always stay up until that time, but then if you're running so many games, you might cut into your day.
Yeah.
With that, from your experience in those scrims practicing, is there any player that you're particularly excited to maybe go up against in any of your lobbies?
Yeah, I think just looking towards this weekend, if I had to pick one player from the Americas, I would definitely say Ripple Overdrive. He's someone that I have studied with in the past, and honestly like taught me a lot about sort of like the fundamental aspects of TFT. And so I've always like respected his game knowledge, but I think just competing against him in TPC this set, I've gotten to see a lot more of like where his game is at recently, and I've been very impressed. I feel like he takes a lot of unorthodox lines and makes it work. Like he'll always be win streaking early, always be high HP, just like someone that you're never gonna get free placements from. So I
Hmm.
think that's definitely someone that I'm expecting to do well this weekend,
Hmm.
and yeah, looking forward to seeing him.
That's awesome to hear. So, quickly to talk about your last regional appearance to this regional appearance, are you feeling more confident going into it, or how are you feeling about that in general as a returning player?
Yeah, it's sort of weird. I think this is my fifth regionals. Yeah, the second one as part of the TPC, and last set I was much higher in pro points, so I got the bye to week 2. So definitely a different experience. I'm feeling like a lot more nervous just because I feel like the prospect of losing my spot in TPC is sort of a big deal, but um I still feel confident. I feel like not only is the pool of players going to be like a bit softer, which I mean, there are still good players, but I know that like I'm confident in myself and I know when I'm in form, I can be a top player in the Americas. So I'm not really worried about matching up to the other players. It's sort of like against myself, like just making sure that I'm super locked in when the weekend comes.
Mm.
It's hard to say if I'm better or worse than last regionals. I think I've definitely had a lot worse results this set, so it's sort of hard to say that I am better, but I don't think I've become worse as a player. I think if anything, maybe I've just maybe shrunk more in tournaments. I don't know if that's like the right way to say it, but
Hmm.
I just think I haven't like performed up to my own skill in as many of the tournaments this set. So I know that if I can do that this weekend, then it won't be an issue.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling more confident going into this weekend. Do you have any words of encouragement for women and marginalized people of the TFT community that want to get into competitive TFT?
In general, the TFT community is very welcoming for all people, and I'm always happy to see anyone succeed. Yeah, I mean, I also appreciate interest in the competitive scene from gals, so that's always something I'm happy to see as well.
Thank you so much for those words of encouragement. We'll also be cheering for you this weekend, and so without any ado, we can let you get back to studying and playing. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. Welcome to our coverage of the first day of of Regionals Week 1. I am Invective, joined by Al, and we are going to be talking about some of the players that we are about to see for this weekend. Players that we think are going to be likely to move on to day 2.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we sure are. We're looking at potentially a few people that we saw yesterday and a few people that we're seeing for the first time today. We're looking at Dehua, Dank Memes, Shoma, and JD Zelensky. Dank Memes and Shoma are the ones that we saw yesterday in the play-ins. Both had pretty strong performances and looking to carry that momentum into day 2.
Yeah, JD had a really strong first cup of the set, but didn't perform quite as well in the following two. I think the second cup in particular was really a devastating experience in general, with so many players being packed into one cup and the average level being a little bit different between those two cups. It was absolutely like a world's level tournament. And unfortunately, the rest of the set hadn't gone quite as well, so JD is in week 1, but he absolutely has the caliber to make the next day of comp. We could move on to the next player for the player card.
And Shoma was a fun watch yesterday. A lot of kind of forward play styles. Some of those games didn't pan out, and some looked really good. Um, Current set average placement 3.83, so not the biggest moments just yet, but definitely has potential to have some big moments here today.
Yeah, I'd say like the career stats are a little bit unrepresentative of his capabilities. I think that he is someone who has improved over a long course of time, has really been involved in the TFT community since I believe I met him at the Vegas Open, the first one. And I think that, this is absolutely an upwards trajectory. So he's definitely someone who could make the next day of competition here. As for Dehua, I mean, like, this is the Clutch King. He can take off as many cups as he wants in terms of serious preparation. He's always going to show up. He's going to have that mental edge that he is going to be the Mamba on the weekend.
And here's Dank Memes. That's the other one that we saw yesterday. Had a couple of really impressive games. I believe it was maybe game 2 or 3. Pulled out of first, and I mean 20 rate, 8% eighth rate. Definitely very capable of putting together some really strong performances. Getting some really high placements, and with any luck, we'll see one or two of those today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dank Memes, had a really great performance yesterday. Uh, as far as I know, qualified very easily. And in this week 1 of regionals, I think that it may be that he is one of the most likely competitors to make it out of this weekend as a whole. So those are our 4 players that we are going to be following along with over the course of today to make the next day of competition. Of course, a lot of love to Cam Healy as well. Thank you to Cam for providing us that wonderful interview. I think that the next thing to do would be to look at the lobby that we are going to head into in just a few moments.
Let's have a look.
Yep. These are all of the players that are going to be competing this weekend. You can see the format of the weekend is going to be pretty interesting. This is sort of like a world style competition. The qualifications are going to start as early as game 9 or after game 8. So if you are performing super well across the first 8 games, you are going to be making it to week 2 of regionals. But as this is a promotion relegation tournament, there are also going to be cuts starting after game 6 today. The bottom 8 players are going to be cut. So today, as a first day, you're going to have to make the most of your RNG.
Definitely. And it's on one hand when you have potentially 12 games where you can still qualify, you have a little bit of room to kind of forget some of your past mistakes. If you lost a placement from maybe an augment choice or not playing your strongest board, you have a little room to make up for it. But in these first six, you need to try to get on top of it as fast as you can to make sure that you're not sneaking out a little bit early in the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. As for the lobby we are going to be watching in just a few moments, our wonderful production will remind me of which lobby it is going to be. I think that these lobbies are all certainly very intimidating. Lobby 3 has some titans. Lobby, I think 5 also has Dehua and Dank memes. So if at any point today you you have a chance to watch some of those players, that would be absolutely awesome. But lobby 1 is our first lobby of the day, and then we're going to follow that up with lobby 3.
And that'll definitely be fun for us. There's a couple names that we've mentioned. Obviously, we've talked to Cambuli, so we'll be really excited to see how he does. And of course, he pointed us towards Ripple Overdrive, who will be in lobby 1. So some of these key names that we've already been talking about are going to be on our radar in these games today.
Yeah, Ripple, just a really fundamentally sound player, as I'm sure Kim was mentioning. And I think a few other fan favorites in that lobby might include Ego, who is representing Brazil, might include Babzera. This is a really actually powerful lobby for Brazil. And then Broseph and JRC are pretty decent to strong North American competitors as well. Broseph is really, really well known for providing great coaching resources, and JRC, I believe, was in the TPC this week, or this past set.
Yeah, definitely. And Broseph is one of those names I think where almost any streamer you watch, anybody who plays, competitively or on the ladder, once or twice in their stream, they're going to mention Broseph. They'll say, "I, learned this ridiculous tech from Broseph last week," or "Broseph was coaching me in this game and showed me how to play this line because I was playing it wrong." So one of those names that just kind of comes up as almost an infinite source of knowledge, and it's going to be fun to see that implemented in a competitive format.
Yeah, I think that TFT is certainly one of those games that disproves the notion that if you cannot do, you should teach, because most of the best TFT players are also excellent coaches. And I think Broseph is definitely one of the examples that we could follow this weekend. So certainly wishing the best for him there. But that is definitely going to be a difficult lobby to do do standard stuff in. I think that also depending on where the scrim meta is shaping up, I'm not sure if I've seen like a lot of connection between Latin American and Brazilian players and North American players in terms of when they are scrimming or who they are scrimming with. So this is one of those situations where different scrim metas could certainly take place in this lobby.
Yeah, definitely. With 2 weeks of scrims on the PvE before the patch went live earlier this week, they could have been cooking up a lot of stuff. It might be things we haven't even seen yet, or things that we might be tempted to think are stronger than they really are. I know there's some kind of varying pro opinions on Yone, for example. Definitely at his best. I think yesterday it was Kai Wang who had a pretty gross Yone on the board as an example of his peak. But there's maybe some mixed opinions on kind of where Yone tends to fall in the middle. So very interested to see in these strong lobbies kind of what really looks good to them and what they want to chase after.
Absolutely. Do you have any players that you're supporting in particular for Lobby 1?
Oh man, I just kind of tangentially, not knowing Broseph, but just I have a soft spot in my heart for people who teach and coach. So just knowing somebody who's one of those kind of ubiquitous names of someone who's teaching everybody a little bit of something, it is somebody that I think I would like to see have a good day.
Great. I personally think that my favorite player in Lobby 1 might be Ripple. I think that Ripple had a really cool showing at the Paris Open. It is North America's last host. It's nice to have had the chance to root for him at a LAN, and I think that it would be nice to root for him again in this lobby.
Definitely.
We are going to be heading into our game, and Lysandra is going to be giving us 5 random 1 costs to fight on the Howling Abyss.
Just a humble ARAM to get started.
Yeah, I think this is a cute portal, and I think it is also an interesting design. It sort of accelerates the the rate at which you can play stage 1 and play stage 2 with the kinds of pairs that you've been offered.
Yeah, I think definitely the 5-1 cost portal and the 3 cost portal always have at least a couple angles where you can get something, either really juicy or just give you a good sense of direction for the first couple stages.
Yeah, for sure. Ripple does have that Jinx opener. I'm not sure if he feels like that's a unit that will be useful in stage 1 and 2, or stage 2 in particular, because you do sort of need a certain board state to get Jinx to ramp up and carry a fight. But she is an interesting pickup, and Warwick was really contested yesterday.
Yeah, Warwick was very popular in all kinds of lines, either with a gunslinger emblem to start or just something more conventional. And him and Jinx hit hard.
Black Sheep, I think that this Piltover opener could, or this Piltover tailoring could be interesting. We do have Caitlyn and Vi, and there's a potential to unlock Orianna here, which is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Orianna is definitely someone that can kind of stabilize your board pretty early if you get a couple of good AP components to work with. And there's an Ahri. Ahri is another one of those very popular picks from yesterday of somebody who can get a good reroll going and carry a board.
Yeah, and the more gold coming in as well, a lot of players are going to be able to make 10 in that situation. I think the only player who didn't make 10, you can see on the right-hand side, was Ripple, and we are going to be getting our gold augments.
We should study on the board first.
Yeah, I wonder who we're on board with right now. I think these are all some pretty interesting options.
Yeah, late game scaling is definitely a pretty popular pick now that it's such a 5-cost meta. Speedy double kill is interesting. It is one that, I think there's a lot of very good units in this particular patch that would be happy to have a Rage Blade. But we do go for late game scaling here.
Yeah, I think my inclination is to say that this is an augment that will turn a good spot into a better spot. And this might be a tough place for JRC to play from, because unless he is able to find like a little bit more econ later on down the line, it might be a tough reach to get to level 9. And then when you get to level 9, you really have to construct your board. Like we saw players like 1v9 Peter perform yesterday with several Fast 9 spots, but if you don't hit, it can be really precarious. So how much HP can our players work with?
Exactly. It's easy enough to say, it's a Fast 9 meta, it's a 5-cost meta. It's another thing to, keep your HP up, get your money right, and actually get there.
And another unfortunate thing about this opening for JRC is that he's currently unable to unlock LeBlanc, super powerful unit in the early game, and we can see Ripple having unlocked her already with the solo plate. As for this LeBlanc line, I'm not sure how necessary it is for LeBlanc to be itemized here. I feel like I have some experiences with this prioritizing Scion itemization, and he does something, but he can't solo carry a fight. I feel like Ripple is just succeeding in this fight by virtue of JRC not having the most compelling board.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's always tough in these kinds of where you have just a couple of components, not a lot of power, and have to make some tough decisions early on of actually where those items are going to go.
This spot from Bapzera is definitely speaking to me. I think that being level 5 at this juncture will really be putting the hurt on a lot of other players, and the Blast Shield is such a consistent option for Piltover these days.
Yeah, I think, a lot of us are going to look at our first Piltover picks and really want the Continuum cogs, but God knows just a nice little quick shield or heal is going to take you a long way in these early stages.
And we'll get the matchup between this and Ripple. The Scion is staying relatively strong in the front line, and Ripple, I think, is about to summon Otacon. So those are big difference makers, but Scion has already fallen, and Sejuani hasn't taken a lot of damage.
Sejuani's looking very healthy. She's got a Briar in her face, but without items and now dead, Briar's not going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, the mixed streak coming out for Ripple, it's not super enticing. I don't envy that spot.
No.
Anything on the carousel that you spy that's particularly interesting?
I think just as somebody who's a big fan of the Arione line, I am looking at Yasuo with the Rod. That could be eventually a Yone unlock as well as a Yone Rageblade. Could be an Arya item as well.
Yeah, for sure. Riveton was the one who took that, and I'll be interested to see where he's going with his spot. I think that he's had a really wonderful set with, I believe, his first tournament win. That is an absurd spot for Babzera. That is an absurd shot.
No one's going to be happy to go against Babzera. I was going to say that, if you've just lost to Babzera, you might be happy, but I think that loss was 5 units or 4 units already, so very strong spot to be in, and gonna hurt a lot for whoever he runs into next.
Yeah, certainly suffering from success. He just thinks that Seraphine is not even worth putting on the board just yet, but that'll certainly be a powerful level up option. And I mean, it's just going in this matchup against Black Sheep. Black Sheep is on a 3 loss, not expecting to win this round, but it is still certainly demoralizing when you don't even have a hope of killing a unit.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to watch your HP tick down when it's 5 units on the other side dancing it out.
Yup, for sure. Broseph maybe got the Draven 2 off Carousel?
Yeah, no, I remember seeing what I suppose it must have been Broseph that took it, but I didn't see who it was.
Nonetheless, this position where Broseph is on a mixed streak with the Draven, it feels a little bit awkward. This is a unit that's like, when you upgrade him, maybe you expect that you can win some rounds, but his inconsistency in terms of like the DPS potential that you need to win the fight can make him a little bit frustrating to play around. Because look at Broseph's econ relative to some of the other players in the lobby, it's definitely suffering, and you're going to need Draven to do a lot more work to keep up.
Definitely, and it's not your favorite tag to go up against Babzera here. You might get a little bit of damage down, but through that Blast Shields, through the Freljord, and just at the end of the day, a Sejuani with a Steadfast, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot.
Yeah, Vi's final cast did a ton of work there as well, had the area of effect onto the backline, and Broseph will make 20, sells the Xinjiao, but it sucks to be in a position where you're forced to sacrifice potential upgrades for the next stage. That Bard, though, could provide a lot of value moving on.
Yeah, you can never really forget about Bard and just the little bit of extra gold he's going to give you either through champions if you're winning or just through the rerolls if you're losing. He goes along well with a lot of these reroll comps, so it's going to be interesting to see kind of what role he's going to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Chichi had an interesting spot that I don't think we had a chance to see. This solo leveling position with Rek'Sai has been really consistent in my mind.
It feels such like a kind of unnoticed thing sometimes, I think. I think solo leveling, there's kind of like the Slayers or maybe a Viego that you tend to see with that, but low-key, Rek'Sai with a couple of items at 1-star level will take you pretty far with solo leveling. And frankly, in Stage 3 can win you some rounds or at the very least save you some HP.
Mm-hmm. We have some great items for a melee carry coming together as well. I don't feel particularly high on Slayers. I don't think we've seen Slayers over the course of the play-ins so far, at least here in the Americas. So I think that if we are going to go down a melee carry route, my inclination is to say that we'll be playing Warwick.
I think it's a pretty good hunch, and looking at Sterix, Bloodthirster, and Titans, that is a Warwick vibe to me as well. She didn't last very long, but there was also a Dawncore Zoe on Riveting's board, so that'll be a lot of fun later. It's you might imagine a Zoe Malzahar Leona board to come.
I think that is certainly in the cards. Real challenge for Riveting is going to be putting together the frontline items, where I don't know if he currently has any. And you can see that Ripple's streak is also still a little bit contested, not having the most success streaking with the Scion. And I'm troubled by, with these slams being so early game oriented and Ripple trying to play for tempo with his first augment. How much value is he going to get this game? And is he going to cap out much higher than maybe 4th or 5th place?
And a Darkened Bow on the Draven.
Certainly can't complain about that. The itemization is going to come through for Broseph there, and Loris 2 is also a really wonderful upgrade. But I feel like these players are just sort of not at the same strength level as Babzera, who I believe got a pile of champions from his magic roll, and is currently level 7.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting sign when you just put, just for a second, put Loris on the board to take a peek at what your Piltover augments are going to be before you put your Leona 2 back on the board instead. Of course, you're definitely going to take the Leona 2 stronger than a Loris 1. A very comfortable position to be in with level 7 and 30 gold at 3-2.
Yeah, Babzera should be thinking for sure about what kind of level 9 board am I trying to make? Is it going to be a board that includes Rise or doesn't include Rise? And if it doesn't include Rise, I feel like from this position, it might be easy to get into something like Azir and then end up playing around Xerath or end up playing around a different disruptor, which could be Mel.
I like the sound of that. And I feel like, maybe it's just biased because I'm a fan of the build, but I feel like we haven't seen a whole lot of Mel so far this weekend.
She's definitely a menace. I think that might be an anomaly for the time being. Mel is really powerful, and her ability to blow up, I think melee units without Edge of Night is really, really great for potential to blow up backliners if she's positioned correctly, is also a little bit understated. I think people are surprised sometimes by when Mel is able to make an impact that way.
Definitely. I mean, there's times when she really pops the board so fast that you kind of wonder if somebody surrendered. You'll just watch an ult and then suddenly the entire board is gone.
I think that's definitely something that can take people by surprise as well. I agree with that. I think we just saw somebody unlock Yone, so that was really cool. But is it Reti who is currently unlocking Yone? Perhaps.
Looks like.
Yeah, level 7 with the Yasuo 2 itemized.
Yep.
Certainly not uncontested for the time being. Black Sheep has the Ari and the Yasuo itemized as well, also at level 7. And the Path of Blades is, I think, going to be favored to play around something like Yone.
We do have 5 Ione on the board. Wukong with the Sunfire and a Spark. Yone will be happy to have that beside him.
Saving up for what looks like Titan's Resolve for Yone, and maybe a Redemption, maybe a Vow for the Wukong.
Definitely a good place to be for the items. Oh, and that is a Spark from the, I can't remember the name, but the Empowered Spark augment. So those backliners are going to take just a little bit of extra damage as the round goes on. Especially Malzahar with the Dawncore casting over and over and over.
Oh yeah, Riveting is in a tough position, I think. Needs to find a way to stabilize. With all of these people coming into their unlocks in Stage 4, or in Stage 3 and Stage 4, Riveting has a narrow window to execute on a 3-cost composition that has like a front-to-back win condition. You can't build one unit and succeed. You have to build at least 2. You have to build the frontliner Leona and at least one of the backliners, which is usually going to be Malzahar. I would also like to mention
Oh.
that Babzera had his win streak broken. I think that that is going to spice things up a little bit.
How the mighty fall. A humble one
Yeah,
loss
losing
streak,
to Black
but
Sheep,
we'll
who is
see.
the other Yone player.
Something I didn't
And
notice
this is an
before when we were
important
looking
round
at
for
the.
both.
Yeah, definitely.
Checking out Broseph, who I think really needs a win streak stabilized in the game in terms of econ. Oh, but the Yone still has Edge of Night, has
Oh
Titan
my goodness.
stacked.
And Broso got the Constellation Adoration 3 gold, so a little bit of money for your trouble for Draven doing some damage now and getting a couple of kills, but the win streak would feel a lot better.
Yeah, I think
Great.
even just a 2 streak, wouldn't mind that.
Definitely.
Whoa. And the Chi-Chi has a lot of Nautiluses available to them.
It's so hard not to click on those in my eyes. Even if you're not really planning on going for the Nautilus 3, once you have 5 of them, you start to feel like, maybe I'll get them along the way.
Yeah, I think this position could also lean towards Volibear. This strikes me as being a spot where you could end up playing something like Volibear Rise relatively easily, maybe slotting in Shurima with the Azir, the Disruptor, and playing a little greedy that way.
Definitely. We were looking at that board before and looking at it as Warwick, and the Warwick items are on Echo, so another Zon unit, but look just as good on a Volibear as well.
I think they would look better on a Volibear.
I think you're right. Especially because I don't think I really saw Jinx items on that board, so Warwick would be a little bit lonely in that case.
Yeah. This is sort of the JRC conundrum right now. Must reach level 9, forced to roll on level 8.
Doesn't feel the best. Having a 2-star Skarner feels pretty good. He has a couple of tank items to work with in the Crown Guard and the adaptive. But you would like to see a little bit more golds in the bank so you can get to 9.
Yeah, we'll unlock Mel hopefully this turn. I believe it was the Ambessa that just died with the item. So that is very fortunate. Having the means to unlock a 5 cost like that, having the presence of mind to do so on your 4-1 turn, which isn't necessarily the long turn that you would like to see for your roll down. It's good gameplay from JRC, but there's still a long path to go to get to level 9, and also have the goal to form the board that you need to form.
We're into the 4-2 final augment round, taking a peek. Not at Unsealed from Steel, but Portable Forge is on the table. Definitely some good artifacts that we can see here for the Mel or for any frontliner that wants a tank item.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit torn because I think Portable Forge could offer you something that really changes your game, but on 4-2, the likelihood is pretty low. Rolling into Glass Cannon, though, it's a bold move because you have to roll away from tons of stats, but it proves to be a little bit like a big payoff, actually. I think having this Mel with the bonus damage amplification is a huge bonus compared to tons of stats.
Definitely, and you're very willing to go Glass Cannon when you have Mel with very good items, as well as just this very beefy Skarner to keep everyone away.
Yeah. On the other hand, I feel like Ripple's position is a lot. I don't want to say outright worse, but it's a big struggle, right? Ripple doesn't have the Ambessa, doesn't have the unlock, and with the LeBlanc carry and the Scion frontline, it's just not proving to be enough. How do you feel about whether Volibear can turn us around here?
Well, I I did go take a quick peek at the items that Volibear might have, and it is in fact none, except maybe for a chain vest. So at this stage, it's sort of like Volibear might buy us a little bit of time. Maybe help sneak around one here and there, but more likely trying to just save a little bit of HP and tide us over.
Yeah, I think this is a spot where we could see Ripple ultimately play around Rise, if he is able to get to level 9, and I think that the best thing that he could hope for is just getting a glove off the carousel, maybe on a favorable unit that will help this Volibear spawn some items in.
Definitely.
This is certainly
Just, you know...
Go ahead, I'm so sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I was just going to agree. I mean, just having a Thieves' Gloves, even if it's not kind of the ideal item you have, if you are on a lost streak or just breaking a lost streak, it feels really good to just have a couple of items, even if they're not the perfect ones.
Yeah, one cost glove is like a bit of an insult.
It does hurt a little bit.
It's just the one thing that you were hoping for. You must take it, but it's on like the lowest, just the lowest value. There's a potential
It's a little bit insulting, yeah.
Yeah, there's potential that if it was on a higher cost, it would give him the intervals he needs to go 9 a little bit faster. Those are good items, though.
Not bad.
It's looking up. Abster's already level 9.
Oh my goodness. It's the Valley from Slammin'.
Yup. I think this turn is a turn where he's able to unlock Rise. Does have the 3 region traits in.
Yes.
And not going to roll down any further as a result.
And not interested in this upgraded Seraphine either.
Yeah, maybe just too costly. Doesn't fit the final vision of the plan.
I think so, yeah. And especially just having Invoker Oriana and no Disruptor on Seraphine. It's so tempting to click. You know, everybody loves an upgrade. You like to click on the dopamine buttons, but ultimately it is going to be Oriana with the Invoker that's going to feel a little bit better in the current.
Yeah, I want to say Ascension's doing a lot of work this fight. Yoda did not have a lot of DPS to punch through at first, but spoke too soon.
Got there in the end.
It's a lot of units killed. Babzera's not unhealthy at 36 HP, now has the Mega unit, the Rise.
A little bit of gold to work with, so we're going to roll and see what we can come up with. A Rise pair doesn't feel so bad.
Yeah, this time we're skipping the Azirs. Not looking for Braum either. The Taric is going to be the big frontline pickup here.
I
I
like this spot,
personally-
and honestly, like this matchup to see the Mel and the Rise go head to head.
Yeah, I agree. Mel did do some splash damage to the Rise, but now he's going to ascend. He is splashing that
Oh goodness.
Freljord slow to all of the backliners. So I think you can see that Mel got one cast off, she's not getting a second cast off. The Ascension played a big role here as well.
It really did. I mean, Skarner felt pretty good. He lasted for a long time, but nobody to back him up.
Indeed. Versif, really committing to the reroll position, has six Dravens if I saw correctly. Black Sheep's really wealthy here.
Yeah, it's a nice little pile of money to work with. You'd love to see, off of this creep round, a couple of new item components for Wukong might be nice. Good items on the carries, but you'd like a little bit more tankiness in this spot.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't mind. Being able to play around 4 Bruiser, I think makes a big difference here, because it's just that added tankiness that you really normally wouldn't have. Kabuko fits so nicely with the Invoker emblem, and it means that you're working with much more HP than this board normally does.
Yeah, it's honestly such a breath of fresh air to have something like a Bruiser and Invoker emblem. One of those things that obviously points directly to specifically one exact unit that can really kind of, clear up all of your traits on your board and kind of just boost your power a little bit, both in the back line and the front line.
Agreed. Ripple, I think, stabilizing, making a play for specifically like a 5th place this is a spot where I see him getting outscaled pretty quickly by some of the other players who are getting to level 9. F-Zero even has the Rise 2 unlocked, but Ripple views this position as, like, we need to place above Riveting, above Fan the Chi-Chi. And Fan the Chi-Chi, we can see, got to level 9, has a really formidable board. Lysandra is doing a lot of work, but if Rise gets one more cast off, it might be over for Fan the Chi-Chi. And it is. Loss also came through for Ripple. Not so enticing there. And Riveting is going to get a lot of value with finally the Leona and the Zoe both upgraded.
It's a good place to be in. All of your core units are upgraded. Once again, we can never forget about the Dawn Core on Malzahar. We're going to see a lot of Voidlings crawling all over the board.
Yeah, a bit of a challenge with the sustain for that board. I think that this fight is certainly going to prove to be one of those challenges. But Riveting seems like he's positioned really well away from the Mal. So Malzahar and Zoe aren't going to be taking the splash damage.
Yeah, definitely a good place to be in. You know, the damage off the Stylus Laser, but not quite a lot with those items are.
Tough loss again for JRC. Ripple stays alive. And yeah, I think JRC really just needs a miracle Mel 2 in the shop.
That would definitely be nice. You know, keeping stock of everyone's gold and remaining 3 members of what's now the bot 4, all very low on funds and all under 20 HP.
Yeah, it's really great for Broseph that he was able to put together a 3-star frontline and a 3-star backline. Sort of the same formula as I favor Riveting's position a little bit more. Broseph didn't really have the tempo to play the rest of the game, and I'm interested to see how this match with Black Sheep's going to go, because it doesn't look like Yone and Ari are going to be able to punch through the lures right now, but there's the potential to do splash damage to the Draven.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately for Black Sheep, it is going to take a little bit more than splash damage for a Draven when he does have that healing from the Dark.
Really enticing stuff on this carousel. I think Ripple getting the Shavada could be a very big deal. Not sure if that's paired up at all. Not currently being played on his board, but he does have the Shavana, so there's potential. He does have the Swain too, so there's potential to retool if Ripple is able to get a little bit more resources to either roll down again, or yeah, I don't know. Gunblade is valuable in itself.
Parasiles is for JRC.
It's a big hit.
It's a big hit. It's always so hard to make those decisions. When you have an upgrade in your shop and you have 1 gold and a couple of units that you could sell, just deciding, can I give a round or can I just, you know, accept that I have to sell one of my pairs and take this upgrade right now?
Yeah, what you do with the triage at the lowest level of HP, it's a really tough set of decisions to make, but they're decisions that you sort of have to think of them in advance. Set got his cast up before doing the sit-ups. That could end up being pretty bad. I think that Yone might not survive the next Mel ult either. How's it gonna go? Oh, Set gets the job done.
He got 2 big casts in there as well, so it was a little dicey with the sit-ups, but got in there for 2 big casts afterwards.
Yeah, and Ripple ends up getting the 5th that I think that he really did want to play for. It was looking like a difficult position, but overcoming the odds in that way is pretty valuable. And you were rooting for Broseph. Broseph does get the top 4 here.
A good place for Broseph to be in. Still has a good bit of money in the pocket. Obviously, you know, down from the current top player Having that money to work with in stage 5 going to stage 6, and with a little bit of HP, you feel pretty good about your spot, especially as you point out before, having the core carry and the core tank fully upgraded.
Yeah, now this is the battle between the rerollers. I don't think either of them is feeling particularly strong about the rest of the lobby, but this is the matchup that they can focus on, that they can win. The backliners have both been scaled up, but there are 2 3 costs
Oh my goodness.
for Riveting and 1 3 cost for Brosif. Those backline carries. Zoe did a little bit of extra work, and Malzahar with the Dawncore was able to scale up.
There's just so many voidlings. It's kind of deceptive playing against Malzahar sometimes. You feel like your enemy team has very board, but one Malzahar, and there's 25 voidlings coming your way.
Mm-hmm. Brosif has a great unit to level for if he is able to get the funds together to level. Fiddlesticks being in the shop, and then I think he is going to be able to make the 60 gold before next turn with the bonuses you receive from the dragon. And so that's really good. Just having a unit to level 4 before you level up is awesome.
In the meantime, Babzira has gone 10. No
Ooh.
money, but not sure what... oh my gosh. Fiddlesticks 2 waiting for us.
Yeah, that's not nothing. Riveting did get to level 8 as well, retooling the items to fit on the Swain. And the leftover Infinity Edge is just something that's frustrating. I don't know under what context he ended up picking that up. This matchup against Babzira, though, does not look enticing.
No, I don't think I'd want to have that matchup myself. Loris buys a lot of time, but he has very low HP now and about to fall. Straven on his own.
He's certainly formidable, but Draven did not get the job done. And Riveting is going to stay alive, so Brosif will be out in 4th place. Riveting, I really do favor against Black Sheep most of the time. I feel like that Leona is pretty immovable for the kind of DPS that Black Sheep is going to be putting out. But I do think Black Sheep was able to take a victory over Babzira before. So this could be a rock, paper, scissors situation if the positioning is good and if things work out correctly.
Last second swap to get set back on the other side.
We do see the Silas come in as a separate tech with the Invoker and Bruiser emblems. Set is going to get an interesting cast off, but he goes the wrong way.
Not what you're hoping for.
No. And the Ascension win condition...
Oh my goodness.
It came through in droves for Babzira. Riveting also out.
Fear he faced Black Sheep down to 1 HP.
But Black Sheep did manage to get to level 10. It was the perfect interval, the perfect 0. But 1 Fiddlesticks isn't going to be able to make the difference.
And you'd kind of imagine not. I think that last round was pretty decisive in the other direction. So you can hope for positioning to do the work for you, but I don't think it's going to be Fiddlesticks that turns the tide.
Yeah, it's going to be Set as far as I think. And unfortunately, Set is once again away from the Rise, not being targeted immediately, and you need to maximize the value and the timing of the cast. Like, Set casts now, but it means that Set's next cast will be delayed past a point where the team has ascended. Struck down in midair. It's going to be over for Black Sheep.
15,000 damage out of the Rise. Looks pretty good to me.
Looks awesome. Great news for us. We predicted that 5 costs and legendary units in general would be the cost to win in this lobby. And as a spoiler alert, for the next 2 lobbies. So Rise performing really well doesn't necessarily come as a surprise, but we're glad to see it nonetheless.
I'm definitely glad to see something good out of the Rise. Very, very heroic effort from Set to try to get that last slam in, but He's not as powerful as he looked in the past couple of patches. You know, no disrespect to him, he's still pretty strong, but against something like a Rise, he's going to fall short.
Yeah, I think it just sucks that uh, Black Sheep was sort of playing this 50-50 game. Will we go to the left side? Will we go to the right side? It sucks to lose that gamble both times. I've seen some
Yeah.
players try to solve this issue by just solo frontlining the set, but that can make the rest of the fight a little bit dicey in terms of where all of your carries and frontline units end up going.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, ideally, you like to have a pretty good control over sort of the state of the battlefield for something like Yone, who's going to be trying to dash through as many units as he can. Um, and obviously, it's kind of hard, especially when it's Set and Wukong, where Wukong would also love to be surrounded, get kind of maximum value out of his items and his passive. So, just very hard to position in those last couple of battles.
Yeah, agreed. Vapzera is certainly getting the better of the lobby. I think the combination of the opener that he played, as well as the board that he ended up on, made this a little bit difficult for anyone to imagine, like, contesting this position. There were a few other players who had the potential to play Rise this game, like Fan the Chi-Chi and like Ripple, but they were forced to get out of that business earlier on because of the spot that Vapzera put himself in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he came out swinging, was very strong from the get go, and if you're in a similar position that's just not quite as good, and you don't have the wins early, your money, and you're not maintaining your HP, you get put into a pickle when Stage 4 runs around.
Yeah, absolutely. That pickle did prove to be pretty devastating for some of our other players who wanted to go fast 9. We saw JRC come pretty close to challenging Vapzera. If the shops had been a little bit more in his favor, if he had a Mel 2, that could buy enough time to play a Silas 2. And that could buy enough strength to really challenge someone like Vapzera. But it wasn't really meant to be. I felt like JRC's opener was just not as favorable, and it determined a lot of things for the rest of the game. So we do have some of the results coming in, but as we see, the spreadsheet is not fully updated. So how do you feel about sending it to a quick break, Al, so we can see what the results look like after we come back?
That sounds good to me.
everyone, we have game 2. This is going to be lobby 3. A new cast of characters, but some of the characters we have been familiar with already today.
And definitely, we talked earlier about JD Zielinski, for example, is one of our picks to watch for the day. Cambly, of course, we saw the interview earlier, another one that we're rooting for. And then a couple of familiar names that we saw yesterday in the play-ins. So we have Jungle Book as well as Conda 1. Both had a pretty good day yesterday and hoping to carry it forward into today.
Yeah, I would also say that this is one player that is a little bit underrated in this lobby. Doesn't have a lot of competitive experience necessarily, but someone I'm rooting for as a matter of like, we sort of know them, is Funkster, who has been a part of the Tri-State TFT community, and I think this is his first regionals. So it's really exciting for him.
Oh, wow.
And I hope he does well.
Definitely, you'd love to see somebody make a splash on their first one.
Yeah, that being said, it can be a hill climb. It is, for a lot of these players, not their first rodeo. I think Cam mentioned in his interview that this will be his 5th regionals. And so there is a little bit of an experience gap that you are going to have to overcome. And Cam is off to a really interesting start with this Viego and Yorick already getting ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to keep an eye on the item components and see if that's something that we're going to write out. As a Callista enjoyer myself, if I see Yorick already unlocked and I see a potential Last Whisper able to be built, I'm already feeling pretty good about myself.
Yeah, really cool spot. And Iron Assets is one of those augments where I feel really confident clicking this in order to play for tempo. Being able to slam 2 completed items right here and having some confidence about what they are going to look like is a tremendous benefit. So we can see that Cam is deliberating flipping that just yet. Patience is a virtue is something I feel like we could really consider. Lunch money seems like more of a risk.
Yeah, you don't necessarily feel so confident about lunch money, especially if he's scouting and sees things like Silver Spoon being taken by Wigwag, potentially some extra power on these other boards that you're going to run into. We do roll past the Iron Assets, and we're looking at Leap of Faith as our last option, which I imagine is not what we're doing.
No, we do have the Alawi, but I don't think she's going to come into play. Hero Augment's just like a really interesting thing to still contend with. It's like they've been a little prioritized. If you remember last set with the anomalies or the power-up fruits, they made Hero Augments really powerful because you could concentrate so much power into one unit.
Yeah, we haven't seen that as much here. I mean, the Xinjiao Zahen augment, of course, has had its time in the sun, but otherwise not too much, especially Rumble. You really rarely see anybody click on the Rumble augment, especially now.
Yeah, I think he was good for exactly 1 cup. Jungle Book has this LeBlanc opener that we've been talking about. He did get a completed item from the slightly magic roll. But this opener looks pretty solid to me. It seems like he just lost the last fight by a very slim margin due to Sion having a little bit more ability power than he normally would.
Yeah, nice to get the unlock, but not as much fun to get. It's probably extra shield ion. Doesn't feel as good when you don't have the damage to back it up.
Yeah. Now, Millennium Fox is in an interesting open position. I'm curious to see their next turn, because that could be a position where they're going to try to get Bard rolls. And be one of the ways we can find our way out of a lost streak position.
Definitely. There was 2 Nikos on the board, and there was a Kiana on the bench. Maybe sold that for Econ or something before, but... Oh, no, sorry, it is here. I was looking at the wrong side of the screen. We will hit the Nico upgrade. Do our rolls looking for Bard and kind of picking up whatever's on the way, which includes Emilio.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I think fielding the Ishtal trade for 15 player combats, it's a bold one. We're not going to go for it. We're going to slam some items.
Yeah, Brock not quite the game plan that he used to be. He's definitely still playable, but we do tend to see people play for um, shorter and simpler quests to play kind of more of a reroll line and deprioritize Brock. Because if you don't have him 2-star, he doesn't hit quite as hard as he used to.
Yeah, time. I think it's all nice to be able to slam the gargoyles in this position, and you can see Millennium Fox is starting to turn that around. The 2-star Nico is such a valuable upgrade with that item as well.
Yeah, she's a terrific tank at the 2 cost level, and you're happy to have anything you can on her.
For sure. Now with
Alrighty.
this carousel, there is something that's really speaking to me. That's the Melia with the rod, and Millennium
Yep.
Fox is going to be on top of it.
Wasted no time getting there.
I mean,
James with the glove for
sometimes
Candy
like candy just falls into your lap, you know? I'm also interested to see Wigwug's spot. I feel like that's a commanding position to be playing from. We have Noxus, we have Scion too. It seems like the Silver Spoon was really just the cherry on top here.
Yeah, definitely. This would be a nice spot to be in regardless, but having the extra HP and just getting the early levels gives you a good chance to just coast through the first stage and set yourself up.
At the same time, I think Funkster, this will unlock Oriana and maybe provide like a little bit more guidance to this spot. I think Funkster, oh my gosh, Millennium Fox has the Melio too.
Wow.
Because that's the delayed shopper,
Yeah.
right? Did he get 2 copies?
Oh, I believe you're right.
Yeah, that is
He
a
really
tremendous
did
deal.
get the candy dropped into his lap.
I mean, not a whole lot more that you could ask for there. I think the best thing that Millennium Fox can hope for is just getting a set of quests that continues to contribute to the win streak position, right? You'd prefer not to have
Yeah.
your best quest be something like alternate winning and losing when
Right.
you are just so confident in winning. At the same time, losing your win streak to get a ton of shards is not the worst thing that could happen. If you are confident you can win just about every round, you can still pick alternate because you'll just purposely sack the rounds that you don't want to win.
Definitely. It's a little bit tricky, I think. Against, for example, if he was trying to lose streak your alternate against JD Zelensky in this position, you can enter Milio, but the front line is a little bit weak, so you'd be a little bit worried about how you're going to do against the a little bit lower power on this board.
Yeah, JD Zelensky is going to have a strong stage 3. Roll down maybe coming through on 3-2 with the potential to create some kind of front line for this Aphelios and Bard. Seen some Valley scrims coming out of like the Juggernaut Warden front line with Nautilus as the centerpiece. So that could certainly be in the cards. And
Definitely.
I think
That's an
earning
early
5
Garen.
interest is not bad.
Definitely not bad.
Wigwug is in
Yeah, I mean-
shock at the state of this board.
Yeah. Definitely at this stage, we already have a Emilio 2, you have a Nico 2, a Stoneplate. If you're looking for just any old defender to add to your front line, you really don't mind it being Garen.
Yeah, I feel like playing Garion is like you know that you're going to get at least 2 gold, so you will make 30, but like it's
Yeah.
I say it's excessive. We barely make 40.
Just sneaking past.
So it will just be one more round, and then Millennium Fox will have another quest loaded up on 3-2. This is a really strong position. We've seen some Ishtal reroll gameplay come through from other players over the course of the play-ins, over the course of scrims, and one of the things that you commonly see is they're going to cash out at like 300 shards. If you cash out at 300 shards, you're not going to get a slouch of a reward, but the longer you can greed this reward, the better.
Definitely, and it is pretty tempting in a lobby where there's maybe some weaker boards that are not going to punish you quite as hard. Um, of course, you're not going to get punished as hard when you have a 2-star Milio with a death cap already, so a little extra room to possibly go for one of those longer quests.
Yeah. Funkster, I feel like, has had a hard time of it since a little bit earlier on. This Oriana, she isn't really punching through the vibe with the Fight 2 Sterix Declaw. She's living for a very long time, and the fight looks a little bit uneven as a result.
Definitely.
I'm curious to follow Changshin Li for 1 second to see what their Caretaker's ally would be. The 2 cost which they receive from their augment.
Yeah.
And we are going to see about Indecision. I was Vi. So not going for the Vi 3, very content to play around the Vi 2. And I think this is a very measured decision about expectations, who we're going to, who we think is going to be useful come the late game.
$20 XP quests. I love those in this kind of position where you have the potential to keep winning some rounds, so you might as well pick a quest that's kind of going to be doing what you want to be doing anyway. Push levels, keep your tempo up, and just fulfill quests on the way here and there.
For sure. This position is interesting to me. Okay, we're safe. We're not playing around Aurelion Soul, and I don't think JD is a player who would play around Aurelion Soul. But like,
I held my breath though.
There was the potential to before we started slamming some items. Have to be really aware at this stage of the game when you are a reroll player, or when you're put into a reroll position. Really have to look around to see the 3-2 potential to fight, and if I fight them, like, how do I guarantee a continued 4 streak to get myself in a stable position? And JD not rolling below that sort of 35 gold benchmark signifies to me that he's confident in his board strength with those item slams.
On another quest of having no items on the bench, so just again really nice to have something that you were kind of going to do anyway, and pick up a little bit of sun shards and see what you get in a couple of rounds.
Yeah, we did end up losing their streak, but this is one of the cooler augments in the set, the Golden Dragon. Have you had a chance to play around with this?
I haven't played it yet, but it's what I always run into when I'm on a streak, and I just see a tank like this Scion, possibly in this case, just live forever and keep throwing coins in my face that I can't have.
Yeah, the coins that you can't pick up are certainly the ones that tilt the most. Aphelios is going to be scaling quite a good bit this fight and has the access to the backline. LeBlanc is going to cast again. She does one-shot him. It's an unfortunate result for JD. This is one of those fights that kind of ruins your game.
Yeah, it's always a little frustrating too when it's something like that where it's, a LeBlanc with an Edge of Night and Infinity Edge. Like, it's not really her normal items, so it hurts a little bit more when you lose to that in a close fight.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. Just the way that frontline positioning ended up working out. Xin Zhao ran away, wasn't able to tank up an additional cast. Scion, once Scion fell, like, everything was over on towards the left, and that Edge of Night ended up being pretty decisive.
Yeah.
So we're going to see where everything continues to shake out. Glad to have a look at everybody's board state. Is there anybody whose position speaks to you right now?
I'm trying to see where who picked up the Tarek from that carousel, because I know JD Zelensky had one on the board. I just wanted to grab that then. It's something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. Yeah, I could still be retooling around that.
Ooh.
Cam is now rolling on level 8 for the upgrades, as well as, yeah, basically to stabilize before hitting Warwick. This Singed 2 could be a really big deal.
Last Whisper, Crown of Demacia, and Quicksilver on the Jinx. She's attacking fast and she's hitting pretty hard.
Mm-hmm. that is for sure. Yeah, also not being very greedy with it. Slamming the Sunfire, I think, is a pretty big deal in my mind, because you would want, in an ideal world, to have something like Titans and Morellos, but this is a fight where anti-heal is going to play a big role. Um, and hey, it does the job.
It does the job and dishes out quite a bit of player HP in that case as well.
Yeah. Some of our players definitely recognizing they need to make some tempo moves at this current moment in order to assert themselves in the game. Bungster, though, still holding on out, has Epic Rolldown, so we're going to see a lot of free rerolls coming in at level 8.
Definitely, it'll be exciting to keep an eye on that.
You have a favorite comp this patch?
Ooh, I am a sucker for a 3-cost reroll. I feel like that's what really has my heart. So I've been having a very good time with Ari. I haven't tried the Zoe, Malzahar, or Leona comp yet, but that's probably next on my list for when I start getting into some games of my own.
Yeah, that one also seems like a ton of fun. Zhang Li has the Warwick upgraded, but has the Warwick unlocked, but doesn't necessarily have like very compelling itemization at this moment. And I think they're holding on to an anvil, holding on to the emblem or the spatula or pan that they received from their second augment. And oh wait, they just got that augment, so they don't have
they
either the spatula or the pan yet, and they still win the fight.
It's just Jinx doing Jinx things.
Yeah, she's working. Conda. Oh, we're over to Changxin Li. I think that this two-way Warwick contest is not the craziest thing that we've seen out of the Warwick line, but
yeah,
it does feel a little bit bad, the economic disparity between Changxin Li and Cam right now.
Yeah, those are very different numbers as far as gold goes.
Indeed. I think Cam will be able to buy that Jinx later. In terms of patience as a virtue, doesn't necessarily have to lock the shop, I think. I think he would have unlocked Warwick a second ago as well. When Millennium Fox, I honestly forgot about this guy for a second, but like this spot is still insane. Oh, we're not even playing the reroll angle.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we just that same Melia that we've had before. Oh, perfect timing on that upgrade.
Yeah, I would say JD needs to get the win streak going as soon as possible, really. Maybe someone like Millennium Fox realized that playing for the Nico 3 was not going to be a particularly wise move, with JD seeking to upgrade Nico himself. But that being the case, JD does have Nico being contested and only has 5.
Oh, the double adaptive LeBlanc just gave me such flashbacks to Syndra, and I don't know if it was
set 12.
Set 12 or 3rd. Yeah.
maybe yeah, set 12 or set 11. Both of those had powerful Syndras.
Yeah. I know there was the 2-cost one that was an absolute menace for a few patches.
Yup. Yeah, that Syndra was like genuinely one of the craziest units for cost level that has ever existed.
Yeah. There would be top 4
doing,
lobbies.
Doing this funky roll down. I like this, picking up the Garen. Oh, the APM is a little bit of a challenge at this moment, but if it was just a little bit quicker, we could have upgraded Garen to and if we liked, sold him for Silas.
Yeah, this patch especially, I'm always looking at Garen as 1/3 of a Silas.
It's not the most fun thing ever to be reduced to a third of someone else. But in TFT, it happens.
That's just the way it goes, especially with the unlock system of this set.
Millennium Fox is still putting the hurt on people who don't have a quest.
Mel unlock for Jungle Book. We're gonna take those items off LeBlanc real quick.
Really big pickup. Jungle Book didn't have a strong game one. See, in the scores next to his name, he did unfortunately go 8th place. So, with 6 games on the record for today, Jungle Book is going to need to start turning that performance around. Okay, we see why Cam wasn't looking to slam the Titans, ultimately wanted more items on the Jinx, and is playing for Jinx 3. Along with the Ascension win condition, I can see this making some waves as the game progresses, but doesn't necessarily have the combination of frontline backline that you need for that to succeed just yet.
Yeah, it's not quite there, but I see the vision. Ascension on Jinx, who of course loves taking some time to ramp up anyway, but then also including on the Jinx the Crown of Demacia, as well as the Gunblade, keep yourself alive for a little bit longer. So hopefully we have a little more time to get there, but not quite there just yet.
Any interesting business on this carousel? I feel like Cam is picking up a frontline item. One way or another, I think that's going to be the Spirit Visage. Good value on Sejuani.
Fungster was looking at that Annie with a rod and got beat out by Conda.
Oh. Is Conda is in a position to potentially play around Annie. Is currently working with a Demacia core that I think that they're going to seek to upgrade, unlock Galio. Oh, they have Galio. Oh. Wonderful.
And a Lux upgrade.
And that's so not maybe so bad either. I feel like you might still want to use the remover for the Gunblade and move the blue buff somewhere else.
Good call.
Sometimes gambling is worth it, though. Sometimes you do get the set of items that you want without having to spend a remover by doing that.
It's definitely worth a go. Yeah.
And Mel won against 2 4-cost carries that have been upgraded. It's a tough task for Mel.
Yeah, those are nice items for her front line, but they're on a Kabuko.
Yeah, this is Jungle Book. Jungle Book, I think, just having a tough level 8, all things considered. Is it just me, or has Millennium Fox basically exclusively received quests that say buy EXP and slam items? This is an awesome spot to play Ishtal from.
That's my ideal kind of quest. I don't have the stomach for alternating win-loss. Even, you know, the loss streak ones, I'm like, I don't want to, you know, hit my board and mess up or something. So that would be the ideal for me if I was in that position.
Yeah, if you've ever had it when it goes poorly, it really is like quite frustrating to play. At the same time, when it does go well, you feel like you are the smartest player in the world. No one has ever been better at TFT than you.
Exactly.
But Millennium Fox didn't have to make those kinds of decisions today.
Oh, that is a beefy Warwick. Juggernaut Titan Sterix, he's gonna live for a while.
Yeah, that Juggernaut emblem, I believe, came through with the Earth's Gambit around neutrals.
Yeah.
And it turns Warwick into even more of a sustained beast than he already is, with the added durability and the HP coming in from the other juggernauts, it is so valuable, and it synergizes really well with these two items.
Definitely, and I think if I am not mistaken, Millennium Fox did have a duplicator. Maybe that was from one of the cash outs. Holding on to it probably for a Mel upgrade if a pair shows up in one of these level 9 shops.
I have to wait and see. Our players are getting much stronger, and Funkster does have a sizable angle on level 9. I think that in terms of where we're going with this board, it wouldn't surprise me to see Rise again. And Shurima Rise is one potential option. But I do fear that as things stand, we don't currently have a frontline solution that is going to stand up to the task. Because this Garen eventually wants to become Silas. We don't have Braum upgraded. And if we really want to play in this position with this Shurima composition, I feel like normally we would have Nasus.
Yeah, I definitely feel a little bit better having a big dog on the board than Garen. Garen at 2 stars, of course, is a good unit, but when you're not playing around Demacia, he doesn't last quite as long as you would hope.
Yeah, really tough 8th place for Cam. We know he went first in game 1, so this is sort of averaging out. It's not the biggest setback in the world, but really would have loved to see the shops be a little bit better, the game plan come together a little bit more smoothly, but there were just, with Jinx being contested, the shops were not in his favor, and he was forced to roll earlier than he'd like, sacrifice units he otherwise could have gone for, and in the end, still didn't hit Jinx.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough spot to be in. Plenty of games for him in the rest of the day to bounce back, and definitely, I think, easier to bounce back mentally when you've already got a first place under your belt.
What is going on here?
Oh, wow.
L2 and Rise 2? This is completely diabolical. Overshined only by the fact that Nidalee has somehow found her way onto our backline.
It's what she does. Oh my gosh.
Could be a tiny problem. This is but the ghost of JD Zelensky, but nonetheless, a powerful showing from Millennium Fox.
Definitely.
Or was it Millennium Fox? Yes.
Yeah, with the melon. Yeah.
The HUD was just a little confused for a second.
That's another good quest to have. Kill 20 enemies in player combat. Why not? I'm strong. I want to kill enemies anyway. Let's get a couple sun shards out of it.
Yeah, progressing rapidly towards a Brock that we might not even need in order to win the game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of Brock. I love a Brock, but the state of visual and, of course, the 5-cost meta is you don't need a Brock as much as you might have in previous patches.
Yeah, Funkster is also sort of suffering from how quickly Millennium Fox was able to hit the Rise. Has a Rise of his own, but doesn't necessarily have the means to move this Rise into a Rise 2.
Yeah, down to 1 gold with a couple of Kabukos and a Braum on the bench. No pair to speak of at the moment.
Losing this fight as well. This is so frustrating because it's a ghost fight. You know the power level of that board for a set of mysterious reasons is lower than the board that you would normally be fighting. Changxin Li, their board really came together with the Warwick. And if you just look at the way that fight went, tough to see Funkster coming out significantly higher than like a bot 6.
Yeah, it is looking that way. It would feel a little bit better with a little extra frontline other than that Garen, but without the damage to back it up, I don't think it's going to do a whole lot more than what we currently have.
Also with the Kindred too, this is certainly almost everything that could go right did go right on level 8.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to make some really big moves to come up ahead of ahead of Millennium Fox. And then I also sort of have my eyes on Wigwug, who is level 9 as well, has spent all of their gold, and perhaps, just perhaps, has gotten strong as well. Bard is really, like, struggling in this fight, but Nidalee does have the potential to do quite a lot of damage here. She ends up taking down the Mel, but Tarek is standing really strong here for Jungle Book, and it's going to be the 1v1 between Seraphine and Aphelios. Aphelios ends up winning that one.
And those the Nasus on not in time. Funkster and Jungle Book both go down.
Yeah, it's fortunate, maybe for Jungle Book, that he was able to take a 1-unit loss there. I think Funkster was still a little bit ahead in HP, but must have faced a monster of someone else's making. And it looks like Millennium Fox was challenged by someone, barely stayed alive on 2 HP, and it was Konda. So we are looking for ways to power up, salvage our game, even though this spot is so powerful. Tell me what you're seeing here in this fight with Chung Chun-Li.
Well, Chung Chun-Li's got a Kindred with a couple items to work with. Kindred's kind of, maybe one of the last places where you can cap out your board a little bit more. Otherwise, relying on the Warwick and the Jinx too. That being said, Warwick with the Juggernaut emblems we talked about before does put it as was damage as they win this combat.
Yeah, Millennium Fox. Maybe I hyped him up a little bit too much. Feeling a little bit caster cursey. Their game's over.
Yeah, Millennium Fox is in a, what looked like a good position with the Mel on the rise. Had a little bit more room to cap out with maybe, I think there was a Silas pair on the board, but no items for him, and of course, not that key third Silas, so we'll just sneak into the 5th place spot.
Yeah, no frontline solution came together for Millennium Fox. Maybe I was distracted from that in some way, but ultimately I feel like it should have been possible, maybe with Skarner instead of one of these other frontliners.
Skarner could have felt a little bit better. Chung Chun-Li has a lot of money to work with, so we're going to go to 9 and get some rolls on the board.
Yeah, curious to see what exactly the slot-in wants to be. I think right now there are many great things to pick up, but the best thing, in my mind, would be Senna. Her ability to give the additional board more durability, provide Gunslinger for our powerful Jinx, and overall just raise the strength of almost any board will not go unnoticed here.
And Chung Chun-Li is kind of hoping for Singe to just be a huge pain in the butt for Bard and Aphelios. They're watching him run all around their back line, not focusing on those other tanks, and definitely not focusing on the Warwick.
Yeah, the anti-heal will be applied to Warwick momentarily, but I fear that he is going to stay alive past the expiration of that debuff. It's a tough fight for JD, and he's going to have a little bit of an uphill battle to place higher than 4th here.
Yeah, uphill battle. He's 9 HP to Wigwug's 19. Wigwug did just take a pretty big loss to get onto a 2-loss streak, but it's just leveled to 10, and maybe gets something juicy on the board.
That's for sure. I think, wow, Wigwug also looks really scary. The Golden Dragon, yeah. I forgot that was the Ogre he was playing around, but it ended up giving him a lot of gold in this game, and he's level 10. Being able to get all the way there counteracts the -1 slot you have from playing the Golden Dragon.
Oof.
Wait, Aphelios is in a really cool spot. Going up against that Lux, she might not be able to heal enough to win this fight for Konda. JD Zielinski is going to stay alive, and
wow.
The lobby gets closer and closer.
It's getting very narrow. Everybody within 10 HP of each other. That last fight, I mean, I was a little worried because Nidalee died pretty fast from a lot of splash damage from abilities. But Nico really held her own and stayed alive throughout the entire combat.
Yep. Now we're going to have the fight between Wigwug and JD. This is a hard fight for JD to win. There are a lot of threats here on Wigwug's board, and as you look at it, I feel like this Shyvana is a really compellingly itemized unit, where she's going to break the aggro of Aphelios later on when Aphelios starts targeting her, and as it is, both of these backliners could get stuck on Tarek.
Yeah, a lot of potential for that. Tarek with the Mogul's Mail, and yeah, oh my gosh, the board is just melting on JD Zielinski's side.
Zilean is also super valuable in a fight like this, applying the debuffs, making sure that nothing that's too durable will survive for the whole fight. Really compelling victory from Wigwug there. And Changxin Li is going to take a loss to Konda, so everyone in our top 3 seems like they have a shot at first place here.
It could go any way. Nothing too crazy as far as the units go. Changxin Li will pick up a Rage Blade. Konda looking at Infinity Edge. Took a minute to finalize the decision. And then maybe someone's going to... Wigwug does pick up the Gunblade. Just get a little extra sustain on the board. Withstand some of that splash damage that you might be getting into your backline.
Yep. Have to imagine that's going to end up on Volibear. Now, Changxin Li is definitely playing a positioning game. Needs to put the Warwick in the right position to succeed, and also try to maximize the way that Singed is going to mess up the enemy targeting. So maybe it's possible for Singed to lead or from frontline run in odd circles. And that is one of the ways that you really could win the fight against someone like... It's not Wigwug, it's Konda.
I've played it before where a Singe is right in front of a Lux and she starts throwing lasers in all the wrong places. So placing them well, throwing up a Singe. There's always a risk there.
Yeah, unfortunately, this time the Warwick seems to fall very quickly. There's such a plethora of strong frontliners on the Demacia board, and it's over for Changxin Li, who did have a really commanding set of fights against other players in the lobby, against people like Millennium Fox, against people like JD, where that Warwick looked indestructible. But Lux proved to be a different kind of problem, where Singed ended up throwing a bunch of lasers into the dog's face.
Yeah, it's one of the few fights we've seen where that Warwick didn't last the entire time with practically full HP with a Juggernaut. You do now have a Silas on the board.
Wigwug seems like he's got a certain set of tools that can win this fight.
Yeah, Xerath, the charm in the shop was, I think, mana regeneration, so especially adapt is the only item passing working mode is best. And, you know, possibly chipping some extra damage onto the back line to buy some extra time.
For sure. This fight is close, though. Xerath's cast is going to barely
Oh my
win
goodness.
That's a first for Wigwug, and I think ends up placing among the best in this lobby. We're going to have a look at these boards as it closes out. Do you have any favorites among this set of boards?
You know, I do love to see a little bit of time to shine. You know, there is, I think, a good portion of this set where he was basically on the board to give you the Invoker trait and to farm you a little bit of XP. But he was really doing some good work in those last couple of fights. And of course, as you point out, the Shyvana has really good items to just stay on the board, drop aggro, grab a shield, and just keep pumping out damage.
Yeah, I want to say, in my personal opinion, I feel like Zilean suffers from a bit of like a visibility problem. Mel was like mostly bad for the whole set, and at the same time, when she casts her ultimate and it looks good, it definitely looks good, so you notice it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I feel like with Zilean, having his ability spread this debuff, which is a really powerful debuff, and has the ability to get through a very powerful target. It is less visible, so maybe it suffers a little bit in that respect. I think Zillion has certainly always had the utility that you mentioned, but yeah, comes into his own as a carry towards the end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's always fun, I think, with Xerath as well. Having those charms, every round you see something in your shop and hope that it might turn the tide a little bit. Every once in a while, it's just a charm that's like, win a round, get 12 golds, lose a round, get 5 back, and it's like, all right, fine, I'll take a little bit of money, but you'd really rather see some extra combat power to tip your board over the edge for a round.
Yeah, you can also there's like Millennium Fox and Fungster with Renekton on their boards as opposed to the Xerath. Unlocking Xerath can be a little bit troublesome. Not every spot will allow you to do it, but making sure that you do unlock Xerath can make such a big difference. But you can see the way that Wigwug was able to leverage the extra econ into that benefit. We definitely can have another peek at a different game, and that is going to be, I don't know which lobby this is, but Bobster has unfortunately just been eliminated.
Alrighty, let's try to catch up. Let's see what we have here. We have Jinx with a Flicker Blade, very powerful artifact for her. And on the other side, we have nice looking Bilgewater board, a lot of good core Bilgewater items. Rise, of course, carrying one of them, and he wields them very well.
Yeah, Crazy Cat is currently leading the HP totals in this lobby. Crazy Cat, I feel like, is someone who got counted out really consistently throughout the course of the set as one of the TPC players that was perhaps rated the lowest. But he's currently showing in this lobby at the very least that he can hang, and that Bilgewater board could pose quite a threat to the rest of the lobby. At the same time, Ego's board with this Malzahar Zoe Leona combo is very rarely seen at level 9. And I think that this kind of cap from this board is really going to be formidable.
Definitely. And Ego is on last of the 9 lives. So in his Puss in Boots era, with this exciting comp, of course, with an extra 2-star Taric to boot with some very nice rolled items on the Thieves' Gloves for this round.
Yeah, this is sorry, I'm still laughing about your comment.
I couldn't resist.
Min-Max is like proving to be really valuable here. Not surprising to me that Ego is able to use it really well. We're going up against the Bilgewater Rise board. This is something I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, we've not seen a whole lot of Bilge recently. I think we had maybe one game yesterday where someone got a nice Bilge board. But it hasn't been quite as favorable in this patch as it has previously.
We're also leveraging it through this, what looks like a Shinzao 3. So I think the Worth the Wait 2 gave us Galio and Shinzao. We might have also been playing around Nautilus, so we were able to play 3 Bilgewater. And somehow, I don't know how many rounds they were able to play with like multiple, like maybe 5 Bilgewater in. They were also able to get enough Silver Serpents for Tom Kench. So really cool stuff there.
Very cool, and it's kind of nice to see a Shinzao 3 once in a while. We'll spend a little extra time mourning Ego's board.
Yeah, that was a cool board. Fell a little out of favor. Let's do our best to cast based on what happens at the end of the round. Crazy Cat lost. Shoma won. Danny Andrew lost, and Malala won.
And Shoma's sitting on a pretty good streak as well.
Yeah. So Crazy Cat's the one with this rise.
Yeah, it's a good looking board. It's kind of nice to see a Shinzao 3 kind of on his own and not turning into a Zahen. Just give him a little break once in a while from turning into a Darkin.
Yeah, in this universe, he's alive. Shoma, I feel like Shoma got something powerful. Can't tell you exactly what it is. It looks like Mel cashed out a Radiant. We have Xerath 2, and we have 11 units on the board, with 2 crash test dummies. That's a lot of things to kill.
Yep, seems good to me. A lot of HP to punch through.
This Jinx and Warwick are still alive, but the next Xerath cast is going to do it. And we did see Crazy Cat lose to Shoma earlier, but anything can happen given one fight. I would say maybe the biggest thing that Shoma could, or maybe the biggest thing that Crazy Cat could do to get his win percentage up in that situation is have this Tahm Kench eat a priority target.
Definitely. A lot of key things that can go good or bad if you position your Tahm Kench well.
Also wondering if this Nashor's Tooth is going to find its way onto Rise. That could be one way to improve the itemization a bit. And then, yeah, another thing would be, let's make sure... Oh my gosh, this board is so capped out. What can we do against it? Let's make sure we're not on the same side as the Mel. That could really splash damage onto our carries.
God, I love the crash test dummy stun. It's so frustrating to play against and just have your units standing around for the first couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I'm glad the crash test dummies is back. It's a cool augment. Yeah. I'm sad that we didn't have it for a little while. We have crash test makeshift synergy this set. That's pretty cool. Shoma is undefeated at the end.
Yeah, it's very fun for us to sneak into the end of a lobby and just see a hot win streak right at the end with a disgusting board.
Yeah. And let's not forget, Shoma's one of the players we picked to advance out of today. You know, those stats on his player card are like we did say they were misleading. I feel like they are misleading. It kind of sucks to have your career stats say you have a career 4.9 average and like a 20% 8th rate when your average placement this set is something closer to a 4 in tier 2 competition. Like, we've done a lot of growing, and it shows there.
Definitely.
All right. As for now, we do get a quick look at the scores. They may not all be organized, but up in the lead is David Ace, French-Canadian player, who has done a lot of studying. I feel like he works pretty consistently and studies primarily with people from his province. Really cool performance after 2 games. He's someone who I would expect to do really well in a tournament where the field is a little bit weaker than the full-on TPC level. And yeah, that's a really commanding lead over the rest of the field so far.
Yeah, in 2 games, having a first and a second to your name, gotta feel really good. Beyond that, there's a couple players right up beside him, in that 12+ point range, and then quite a few just kind of hang out between the kind of middle of the pack.
Yeah, I would say Jungle Book maybe lucky not to have gone 8th place in the previous game, but at 4 points, he's someone we were following yesterday, and someone I would personally like to see succeed today. I think he really needs to start turning it around. And as we look at the lobbies, are they not? They may not yet be populated for Game 3. I will say Shoma had a second in Game 1, so Shoma's up there with David Ace.
So it's a very good place to be in. Also, I'm trying to kind of scope out the places where I see, for example, Kai Wing has an 8th into a 1st that's got to feel just so good. I'm trying to see if there's any others that are kind of in a similar spot of having a nice turnaround. Let's see here.
I guess anybody whose spots haven't been filled yet for Game 2, they are going to have placed pretty well because they're just right at the very end, right? So someone like Dink Memes, I think, did get 7th place in his first game, but probably bounced back with at least a third in game 2, so good to see there. I don't know about how quickly this is going to populate. How do you feel about sending it to a quick break before we head back for game 3?
I can get into that quick break, and then I believe we shuffle the lobbies, don't we?
Yes, there will be a lobby shuffle for sure.
Cool. I have that to look forward to.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our coverage of week 1 of regionals here at Gal. We are going to be heading into lobby 2 for our next game. How do you feel about this lobby? Anybody you're rooting for in particular, Al?
This looks like it's going to be a fun one. It's people that we've talked about a little bit earlier today. For example, Brosif is one that we've kind of been keeping an eye on. Ripple as well. We're kind of rooting for. And then Kaiwing was one of those that we sort of yesterday had a lot of interesting games, and we were sort of starting to see maybe had a little momentum. So I think a lot of players that we've sort of had on our radar, and a really good matchup here.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I think David Ace is someone who I want to see compete. This is someone who, like, as we were mentioning before the break, comes from a different niche of TFT community of French Canadians, and I think that it's always nice to see their representation here in the Americas circuit. I think they're a really passionate community with TFT.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to kind of branch out a little bit from sort of maybe the scene that we're used to, and kind of get something a little bit different that's maybe going to sort of sneak under the radar if you're not paying close attention. And it's actually very hard to not pay close attention when David Ace has gone first and second in the first 2 games.
Yes, for sure. Deleted is also performing really well. He's someone that we've been rooting for over the course of the entire weekend, and I think that with this opener, you have to have a lot of confidence. I'm also glad to see Malala has started off the day really well. Malala is someone who I think deserves to be in Tier 1, and finally might have a shot at getting there after what has been like two sets or so of not being in that conversation.
Yeah, definitely these 2 first games are a good statement to get started on the day, and definitely really hoping to carry that momentum into the next 4.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we need to see maybe a few better performances out of Lobster, who is going to be in, I think, game 4 for us. So have to stay tuned on that one. And then the clutch king, Dehua, I think someone we are also going to be paying attention to as the day goes on. Currently has 8 points and needs to step it up a little bit as well.
Definitely. Personally, I love this encounter, the Draven encounter, get golds increasing with each player eliminated. It really helps, in kind of those late game last couple of fights where the last 2 players will have a mountain of money to work with to hopefully cap out their boards into something really cool.
Yeah, I love the way that it can incentivize different kinds of late game decisions. Like, if you're someone who feels like they have a choice between going level 9 and down again on level 8, it could influence your roll again just because you know that there are resources coming down the line if you just survive. But you have to realize that the top players in the lobby are probably to reach level 10 with the resources that they are provided later on in the game.
Taking a look at Kaiwing's boards, have a pair of Shench, a pair of Jarvans on the board, and a couple of quick strikers that we might itemize to unlock some units. Not Viego, though.
Yeah. Interesting package of frontliners. I think that you sort of have to commit to one side or the other, the Demacian Defender line or the Bruiser Ionia one. I think would lean slightly towards the Bruisers, and it's nice to have Twisted Fate on the board as well. Being able to not tailor, phrase here, make things really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And there are some components that Graves and eventually Misfortune would be happy to have. We're going to slam them, it looks like, but maybe I'm tuning on what our augments give us.
I think it's coming through. Rubber Brohu, who's a name that I think is fun to cast, had a very, very crazy play with this Chain Vest Sona. I don't know how many players in regionals know the units that you can solo 1-4 with, but apparently this is one of them. I was scared for a second.
I was scared as well. I've definitely been in those positions where, you know, I've definitely been in this situation where the game has crashed or something, and I come back and then I see a unit 1 versus 4 in 1-3 or 1-4. So nice to see somebody do it on purpose because they actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I want to say that with these items, we might be opening into Warwick. I think that this is a line that we've seen been played pretty consistently throughout the weekend, but I guess all I have to say is, like, maybe there's just one turn before level 7 where we want to roll, and if we happen to see Jinx or Vi in the shop, maybe we should roll for the other one. Aside from that, until we see one of those units, and certainly not before level 4, I cannot imagine that Mr. Who is going to be doing any rolling.
You'd imagine not. Oh, that is a Briar with some nice items.
He might be contested. Warwick might be contested again.
As he has been in quite a few games so far this weekend.
It's a powerful opener for David Ace. I'm not sure exactly where you go from here, but it's going to be a big problem for a lot of people.
Definitely. We'll actually put the water axiom. I like that there's plenty of good AP boards that are going to be happy to have that. So item slammed on Caitlyn. Gonna have a hard time getting through this Shen to begin with. You hope to sneak around for a little damage on the Graves, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, Kaiwing definitely committed to the Bilgewater angle after receiving the Alawi, after slamming the items on the Twisted Fate. But I would say that Carve of Path is a really interesting pick. I don't have a great intuition about when that pick tends to unlock the extra 2 swords, but I do feel like with this Bilgewater spot, being on a little bit of win streak, and then having this IE Giant Slayer Graves, we're in a great spot. What just happened?
Oh my gosh, ew. We throw in a couple of rolls, we get an RE2 on 2-3, and she's standing behind a Shin Alawi 2 as well as Xin Zhao for the Ionia. So not the most conventional RE items, but any items on RE with an upgrade is going to do really well for you in this early stage.
Yeah, I've seen people play this spot and roll for Bard. It doesn't make such much sense to roll for Bard if you can't explain when there's a unit that you would play him over. You would not be playing him over RE2. And it could make a big difference. We know that we're on the path of the Prosperous. So if we win rounds, we are going to be getting gold. But this fight's kind of close.
Oh, the Edge of Night. It's so close. Oh my goodness, LeBlanc sneaks in with no items.
Yeah, my fear is that Ready is potentially like poor forever.
Yeah, definitely that. There are some recost units here for the Leon, so you have to play with the AP units. Was it Kaiwing that had Bilgewater on the board just picked up the Gangplank?
If Kaiwing did pick up that Gangplank, lost to the win streak. Gangplank with the sword is I think if there's a Nautilus in the shop, then I don't think that Kaiwing had a Nautilus.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Nice third item for Ari though, and it came on as well.
Oh, the Nautilus.
There we go. I will say, the Gargoyle Stoneplate feels bad to me. It's an item where I'm so happy when it's on like a 2-star frontliner that potentially gets solo frontlined. It does not spark as much joy with this Nautilus, who, with this current board state, kinda is a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's you're happy about the 5 bilge, but when that board doesn't bring you a Juggernaut or a Warden to beef up Nautilus a little, you're not as thrilled, especially with the 0 killed units in that loss.
Yeah, now we're in a position where we may not be receiving a lot of value towards our first equipment, also aren't necessarily rich. Kaiwing has to be level 5 in order to play 5 Bilgewater. It means he might just barely make 20 gold this turn. That turns this into a position where I feel like we really need to see an early misfortune for Kaiwing, maybe in the 5 Bilgewater shop, in order to turn the spot into a commanding Bilgewater lead.
Yeah, definitely. The name of the game for Bilgewater is tempo, and if you're going on a 2-loss streak with no money, it's a little bit hard to find that tempo without a little bit of luck in the shops.
Yep. David Ace does have a lot of rerolls stocked in the bank. Briar is not proving to be compelling unit past the first 2 rounds of stage 2. And Ready is going to be poor forever. There's so many Aris though.
Oh my goodness. 5 RE7. I would be foaming at the mouth.
Well, here's the thing, it's just like holding these Aris right now is actually really expensive. If you look at how much gold everybody else is going to be making, Ready is deep in the hole. So I think that the second augment here needs to be something that moves us closer to RE3 and spikes us, if possible, very meaningfully. That means that maybe we need to see RE2 come out of an orb, like from the magic roll. We might need to see the lesser champion duplicators. One way or another, this champion needs to be upgraded, or 6 gold is going to be languishing on our bench.
Definitely. We do have the Yasuo too. Not enough levels for Yone just yet, but eventually we'll get some items and snap.
Sorry, where did Kaiwing get Nautilus to?
And we were just complaining that Nautilus 1 with a stone plate is impressive, so why not just take a round or 2 and already get the upgrade?
I mean, I am probably going to be in awe at the skill of some of our regionals players, but this is a moment where I feel like we've just been rewarded by Mortdog. Here's players. Actually, with the water hex feel good in so many games, but it's not enough for Sona to take down Phoenix.
David is pondering heroic grab bag, salvage gold lotus on the screen at the moment.
David is being contested in some regards by Bro. I thought if Chuck was correct, it's not correct. Is playing or Bro who is playing around and so and Tingle for Boston picked up much else. I feel as though there's potential there to, yeah, that board is turning into a roll. Yep. So David Ace might have an
I went to have misfortune at 3-2. Decent item on her, and she is putting her onto the poor last for Malzahar.
I'm feeling some type of way. I don't know if a single one of my Bilgewater games has ever looked like this. At the same time, Kaiwin might be better at this, so like maybe it's my fault.
I'm right there with you, and mine have probably looked even better.
Ripple was off the game. I think did take a loss now. It's quite yet. The wagon coming through might be the second game where that ends successful. you there?
Yep.
Okay, good. Great to hear from you. Just making sure. Uh, uh, Ready is kind of stuck on level 5.
You've definitely kept an eye on that, noting that Ready's to be poor forever in Romania. Region, but you are at the point of the region to really a bit more money.
Yeah. One of the other frustrations on this spot is that some of these items really want to be on a Yone. In order to play Ready, you will have to be level 7. So just like the option of how to get to this, bad to leave those Aries in the shop, stating that I would leave the shop. It's just pursue at that stage of the game.
Yeah, it feels really nice to have the 5 R's at that point, but you really need getting the other 4 for.
Will say though, the rest of the lobby is looking pretty compelling to me. I think Broseph is in a particularly powerful spot with an upgraded Aphelios and Nautilus. I think that that is looking like the Aphelios reroll, and it means that Broseph, if this spot goes according to plan, if our shops are full of the units they're supposed to be full of, this is a spot where I feel like Broseph can convert this into a top 4 or top 5.
Yeah, definitely a lot of potential for it. I'm also, as we were talking about, our board games not resembling Kai Wings. It's going to be another one that I'm keeping an eye on. It's so fun to see build order succeed and just have a ton of stuff on your board, a ton of those extra build order items, and a lot of power just pumping out damage.
Yeah, these front lines are really powerful, but units like Zoe and Sona are managing to chip away at the back line, and Oriana is doing sufficient DPS to the Nautilus. I think that's a victory for Ripple, and a bad loss timing for Broseph.
Yeah, really, really tough swing for Broseph on that loss time. And Ripple Very to have, I saw at least 3 gold come out of the Golden Dragon, so happy to get a round win and collect a little extra money on the way.
Yeah, a really nice slow round win. Mogul's Mail is like it's not the most compelling item all set, but I really like Mogul's Mail. I think I've always been really enamored with the Shimmer Scale trait and the Shimmer Scale items.
Yeah,
so it's just
definitely.
it's just cool stuff.
There's been a lot of sets and a lot of comps where the second I would see Shimmer Scale and the chance to play a Gambler's Blade, I knew I'd be having the time of my life. It wouldn't necessarily win me games or do that well, but it just feels so good to just watch all those fast attacks and just start spitting out money.
Yeah, I had a pretty good time with the set revival as well. When set 7 came back, I do feel like I had a chance to play 1 or 2 Shimmer Scale games, and they reworked the trait a little bit for that purpose. But I think I was a little disappointed. I don't know if I ever had the chance to play around Draven's Axe again, and I'm not sure if Draven's Axe was even in the set revival. So that's the one I liked the most. Can you imagine though? The set, if Draven's Axe was in the game, you could put him on Draven.
We can dream. The next, however many sets it takes to get, a classic Draven back in the game with, base skins, we can dream that Draven's Axe might come back.
Yeah, someone who thinks all the time. Thinks of things like this. Whoa, Black Sheep has a really early Ornn. I think
Ooh,
that's
I love to see it.
that's pretty compelling stuff. I am really pleased by what I'm seeing out of Ready. We do have to move our items off of Ari as well. Don't forget that Rage Blade should find its way onto Yone ASAP. Not going to be the biggest deal for one round.
I think we'll be okay. Yoni's doing all right on the left side. He's away from the damage, so he's happy to just slowly tick up his stacks.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Ready stabilize, and I think our econ has stabilized a little bit as well. I do fear some people are getting to level 8, but one thing that could turn this spot around for sure is having the Yone 2 a little earlier on, and having the pair is really encouraging.
No interest in malicious monetization. I wouldn't either, but it's always fun to see somebody see that augment and just re-roll it at the speed of light.
This is cool stuff. I'm no Yone expert, so this is my first time seeing this variant, but it looks like we're playing a mixture of Yone and some traditional Slayers.
Oh, this is yeah, I've definitely not seen anything like this. Pair of Belvets as well. Now a pair of Yones. Decent spot to be in.
Yep, we'll be unlocking
First
Set
set
here
unlock.
as well. And I want to say that with the Bloodthirster level 8 and Force Slayer activated, we are going to be unlocking Aatrox also, so we could end up seeing that unit on our board. And part of what David Ace is doing in this position is playing around Salvage Bin. So had some items slammed previously, now those items are different items.
Salvage Bin, it's such a powerful, I think especially in this patch, such a powerful augment to just tempo as much as you can with the components you have, and then once you have the units you need, get the exact items you actually need for them instead of playing around something that's not quite as optimized early on.
Yeah, I can't pretend I've never been, like, bamboozled by my own items. And David Ace is in a tough position with very, very little HP, trying to come back with Slayers. I feel like that's a tall task, but he could very well still be up to it. We have Aatrox, and we have Set unlocked now, and I want to see those units start to make the difference.
We'll take an upgraded Rift Herald.
Yeah, happy about Shelly, and really good fast thinking to put Jin on the board as well for 5 Ionia.
We get to see where Kaiwing's at, which is a pile of citrus on the Nautilus and a Infinity Edge Gunblade Shojin on our upgraded Misfortune. So very nice place to be in if you're a Bilgewater player. Just the mountain of money spitting out.
Yeah, I'd be happy with Kaiwing's spot as well. Oh my gosh, another boost of gold. Oh, but no, yeah, that was all gold for Kaiwing. That spot is really crazy to me. I think that it's also, like you pointed out, we have the citrus. The citrus is going to be farming us more and more Silver Serpents. That really affects our late game scaling, and so it's really nice for this to be the first 7 Bilgewater item that we receive. Now we might in the future look for things like the Dead Man's Dagger, like the Flintlock, First Mate's Flintlock, that's the name of that one, which power up Misfortune, enabling a backline carry, and maybe we could move these items onto someone like Lucian and Senna. But as of right now, this is a really stable position, and I like to see that Fizz is actually on this board. He's the unit that we haven't seen a lot of since his nerfs, and I think that the role of assassin type units is oftentimes maligned. But in this position in particular, I think Fizz does make a really big difference because Kaiwing is headed upwards. We're getting to level 9.
Yeah, coming in a very good spot, and Fizz is definitely not the fish that he used to be, but in a position like this where you're a 2-star Fizz, you got a couple items, you can really terrorize the board if they don't have their upgrades yet. Just sneak into the back line, put a bunch of damage down, and knock out somebody's carry a little bit sooner than they would have expected.
Yeah, I want to say Fizz could have had a really insane role in this fight, but he only just
Oh
now
my
found
goodness.
his way onto Annie, and that means that Tibbers and the damage over time that has been applying to the whole board is continuing to apply. Misfortune may very well find herself burning down before she's able to finish
Oh,
Garen,
Gunblade
and
doesn't do it.
now it is Garen with the Golden Dragon farming up gold for Ripple Overdrive against Nautilus, who doesn't quite seem to have the damage to take this over.
Oh my gosh, he just stands there living forever, printing money while the burn slowly takes care of the remaining units.
Yeah, that is a really tough fight. And you know what? I am really excited by what Ripple managed to put together because a lot of these AP carries, you would have to find different ways to enable them. But Annie is a ideal carry to play alongside a frontliner who is empowered with the Golden Dragon. Hmm. I don't
Okay.
feel like Black Sheep has enough to stand up to this Bilgewater board though.
No, I don't think so. It's, the Darken Aegis is kind of nice if you have, an upgraded unit to really capitalize on it. And of course, Lux with her Water Axiom is nice too, but there's just so much power on this Bilgewater board that she's got to cut through.
Whoa, there was a big
Well-
healing orbs proc coming out from Black Sheep. I think we might have spoke too soon because just the way that worked out, those Demacian frontliners lived on 1 HP and little curse going Kai Wing's way.
A little bit. And honestly, that's very representative of my experience in playing is underestimating healing orbs. It's a very bad habit where I see the augment and I think that's probably not that good, and then looking back, I think, no, that would have won me 2 more placements.
In some ways, it's an augment that benefits from just about everything that like you could get better at TFT, like putting the right units in the right places to succeed. Well, there is something that could really change
Ooh.
the game. That prismatic orb, all of our players are going to get the same thing. I believe that is 2 lesser duplicators and the larger the regular champion duplicator. Some of our players going 9, some of our players who are one off something really big. This is going to matter to that.
Black Sheep's got a couple core upgrades, just upgraded a bunch of 4-cost units. Brosif hitting a bunch of 3-star frontlines, and Reddy's just hits Pennon and Ari. So really big swing from the Matic Orb.
Yeah, in a way, this feels bad for Brosif because there isn't necessarily a priority target for the larger champion duplicator, but these upgrades are coming in at a great time against Ripple Overdrive, and I think that Aphelios 3-star can make the difference in this fight, whereas Aphelios 2-star would probably be burning down to Annie right now.
And the burn is on. Garen is slowly getting his stacks to start printing money, and his health is very high.
His health is high, but it's falling, and
For now.
yeah. Bard is falling low, but Aphelios has some of that built-in lifesteal, is also splashing damage onto Annie, and I think that, well, Ripple's not really sad to lose this round. It's a round that you accept you're likely to lose when you are greeting
Right.
like this to get to level 9, but it's fortunate for Brosif, and we see David Ace already leaving the field here. Something about winners today, they're not necessarily, like, able to continue this insane streak of wins.
Definitely, and it's 6 games today, with plenty of room to swing up and down to hopefully maintain as many top 4 as you can, but there's always a possibility of going 8th.
Yep. Phoenix's Ambessa's in a really scary spot,
Oh,
but she's
gosh.
taking a lot of damage from Zoe as well. There's sustain, but Zoe's next cast, no, Mel had a big role to play. She's upgraded to 2-star with that champion duplicator. She blows up the Zoe. But she doesn't finish Leona.
Oh my gosh, Leona is just so sturdy. And getting plenty of healing off of that Gunblade on Malzahar.
Yeah, crazy front to back action there. Brosif's winning another round against Kaiwang. This could be a really big deal. Having this synergy, before everybody else gets their boards upgraded, it secures more and more Brosif's spot in a top 4.
Oh, Ripple's getting some good hits right now. There's a Garen upgrade. There's a Galio.
No Annie yet. That's the big one to me. And of course, Ripple is still holding on to that champion duplicator, wanting to make sure that you greed out this position properly. You play top 2 that this should represent. But it means that this fight against the Bilgewater board a little dicier.
Burns not going to do it this time, and Kaiwing looking really good with that Bilgewater comp. Ornn wearing some extra artifacts to get a big pile of HP, buying plenty of time for the backline to get some damage.
Yeah, now Phoenix has fallen out of the game as well. That loss against the Malzahar Zoe board was really devastating. And Mel was upgraded as she was. She did probably have some matchups she struggled against with these 3 costs. Next on the chopping block looks like Rahu. Although we do level to 8 for Senna. And Black Sheep as well. Black Sheep playing this sort of Demacia Lissandra board. Yeah, we said that this position was looking a little bit dicey.
Yeah, definitely. It feels a little bit better with some of these upgraded frontline units, but it's still a little bit hard to measure up possibly to things, especially like this Bilgewater board that Kaiwing has.
Yeah, I would also say, look at this. Reddy, I think, is on a mission to prove me wrong. We turned it around really well. We have upgraded frontline Yone 2, Ari 3. This is really, really good stuff, and there's potential for huge upside. Even though we lose this round, there's a chance that we could acquire a Yone 3.
Definitely. And you almost wonder in those kind of situations where Set's the last unit on the board, running in after his setups, how different the round would have been if the positioning was a little bit more in your favor. So with set positioning and with an eventual set upgrade, and of course the eventual maybe on A3, those rounds could go pretty differently.
Yeah, things could definitely change. I think Reddy now needs to position for some of the strongest players in the lobby, Kaiwing, Brosif, and Ripple. Who is it going to be? It's going to be Brosif. These players are both at 20 HP. This is a fight for the top 4. Winning this will almost secure their spot in the top 4 of this lobby. And Reddy really needs it. Hasn't had a great day so far, so Yone needs to do big things here. Set needs to abduct this front line, and Ari needs to start pumping out some damage. They are doing the job, and it's going to be a narrow victory for Reddy over Brosif. They both, however, are in the top 4.
I love watching this Draven money come in.
Oh yeah. It's a big deal for Kaiwing too. Kaiwing has one of the beefiest front lines ever.
Yeah, that's a lot of HP to work through. That Death's Defiance, I think Shyvana would be happy to have that. But depending if she's not really your win condition, you might just start moving items around to put more artifacts on Ornn. Just pile on as much HP as you can to buy time for this misfortune.
Yeah, there are still upgrades yet to come through, but I think that I wouldn't fault Kaiwing for trying to play for level 10 here. Maybe greeting out one more loss. No, we're not happy with that. We are going to roll down, and Kindred 2 is the big one.
Oof.
She's the one we have the items on. These two are also wonderful upgrades. This is awesome stuff to see.
Yeah, this is really nice. I was thinking before, as I was talking about the Death's Defiance, that you might not necessarily put it on Shyvana, but once you upgrade her, she's going to be really happy to have it.
She's not going to be the one to have it at all. The Ornn is going to be the one who receives that And the added value from an artifact on a 2-star Ornn is really significant. I am
Yeah.
somewhat surprised as well. In my mind, this doesn't strike me as being the strongest thing, but maybe Shyvana doesn't need all that to be successful. Maybe Ornn's the one who does need it in order to fulfill his role here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't really be too upset about having an Ornn that lives forever.
No, you can't. So now Broseph is out in 4th place, but his points are above average. Having a 4th here is solid.
Definitely, and Reddy's going to be happy to have a 3rd, get a little bit of extra points in the bank, and hopefully start climbing a little bit and some. Meanwhile, Kaiwing and Ripple are very happy to have a 1st and a 2nd, whoever gets 7 and 9 points right now. A good jump in the standings to go into the back half of the games.
Yeah, when you think about the duel that's going to happen at the end of this game, I think Kaiwing's board currently looks a little bit more powerful, but there's a big difference in how much gold each player has saved up, and Ripple does have the potential to play 2 more units than Kaiwing. If Ripple is able to get to level 10 and upgrade maybe another to another 2-star legendary, there is like a... Are we winning on level 9? We're winning on level 9. Okay, I spoke too soon. Ripple is just going to win the game on level 9.
Round after round, we just watch Annie and Tibbers do disgusting things, burning down entire boards for the last 15 seconds of a fight.
Yeah. We do end up playing 4 defender, and Silas has a really powerful Thieves' Clubs role. Ripple positioning will need to make any adjustments in order to respond to what Kaiwing is going to change up to try to stay in this game. You could see the Ornn was moved by Kaiwing, but Ripple kind of read that. We're not starting on the Gargoyle Ornn.
Burn is up and the backlines are really low. Kindred is very low HP. Slowly burning down one more ult and about to fall to the burn.
Yeah, Tibbers is really healthy also. Misfortune's about to fall. That's all she wrote. A win with Annie is a win that I enjoy seeing. I think Annie, she was much stronger at the start of the set, fell off through the middle. I'm glad she's a viable option now.
Definitely, it's a very fun champion to watch. Getting all that burn going and just watching Tibbers swipe away, surrounded by fire. It's a lot of fun, and it's powerful to have all these Arcanists on your board just pumping up all that magic damage.
Yeah, and also, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like Ripple's board could have been even stronger if the RNG went a little better. We ended up with a collector on a Lux when we reforged what we got out of the Golden Dragon. I think that had we received just an AP item in general, Lux looked really much more compelling, and being stuck with 2 strike flails, it's not bad. The synergy is sort of there with a collector, but I would say this is one of the weaker potential outcomes this board could have had.
Yeah, it's always really fun to get to the late stages of a game with one of those econ artifacts and a reforger and a dream, hoping you get something really cool for one of your carries, and then making do with whatever it is you get instead.
Yeah, for sure. I would also say, like, this just sort of speaks to the value of reforgers right now. Like, we are inundated with removers. And it's certainly possible to find yourself in a situation where you've used too many of your removers, but as it is, because of the way that unlocks have changed the game and require you to put items on units you wouldn't normally put items on, sometimes you are going to spend all of your removers. But a lot of the time, if you manage things correctly, you'll have them left over. In this particular case, though, a remover can absolutely change the way the game is played when you get something in the late game that you no longer need, or when you are playing an Ornn and he cashes out something that you don't like.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of You'd rather have a couple of extra reforgers than be stuck in a position where you have to take a late Pandora's items and fix whatever junk you have on your board or on your bench. So you'd much rather have a reforger to roll the dice and luck into something that actually fits your board a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening with Ripple's board right
Yeah.
now. It's not a Blitzcrank. It's in fact
It's
much more
not
than
two
a
Shens
Blitzcrank.
either.
I feel like, have we been right so far that a 5-cost carry won every single game? Because I think that it's to be expected given the meta, but I would like to see our predictions validated that way.
Definitely, yeah. It's looking good so far. And just for the day, I can put my biases towards 3-cost reroll aside and go all in on the 5-cost instead.
Yeah. I am excited by having our results from Game 3 up on the board. Any standouts that you currently see, Al?
I love to see a back-to-back first. So Wigwug getting 8 points and 8 points in Game 2 and 3. Taking a pretty commanding first place through the first 3 games. And, getting there by a slightly different path. Kondo with the same 20 points, just one step behind. And you would be remiss to miss the fact that Camuli, another first after that 8th, so right back into the top 8.
Yeah, it's a really good rebound. We're going to bring you some more action, but I think that might be it from me and Al. We're going to send it over to a quick break, and when we come back, you'll be with 2 lovely but different casters.
It's been fun.
Hello, hello. Welcome back for games 4 to 6. I'm Bisu and this is Cora, and we'll be your casters for the remainder of today. Cora, how have you been enjoying regionals so far? Have you been watching some games from day 1, day 2?
Yeah, I haven't been able to catch all of them, but I've definitely caught a few. It's really exciting being on new patch. Like people joke about this being the mid set 16.5. Like there's so much change just by simply changing how much easier it is to unlock half of these champions. So we're seeing a lot more interesting boards that you can flex around. So it's definitely been exciting to see what these top players come up with.
Yeah, definitely. I personally had a hard time kind of catching up with all of the changes that this patch came with and kind of studying. But let's take a look at our standings right now. We have Wigwug up at the top along with Konda. Any of these top players kind of standing out to you as we head into game 4?
I mean, it's definitely Wigwa going with the back-to-back first to stand out. I like seeing Malala, unfortunately, going with a sixth and last, but Malala is one of my favorite players coming back. Like, wanted to see him have a good showing again after his run in set 10, which extremely exciting. I was there in Vegas for it, so like instantly like a Malala fan. But yeah.
Definitely. I'm seeing some of my favorite players kind of not performing too well in games 1 through 3. I'm personally a huge Dank Memes fan. I love the amount of work that he puts into the game, how passionate he is about streaming. But it seems like he had a rough couple of games in the first half of day 2. So I'm personally rooting for him, see what kind of games he is able to cook up in games 4 through 6. In some of our top performers in the last few cups kind of sitting at the bottom here. For example, we're seeing Daehwa not really having a great day. But we'll see if these players can come back after this weekend. And we're in game.
We're only halfway through the day, so a lot of room for a lot of these players to catch back up.
Definitely. Prismatic Prelude, how are we feeling about this portal post-patch?
I feel like it's one of those where like you really just want an econ opener. So many of the prismatic econ traits are just they give you so much value to go towards those like fast 9 boards to like be able to flex around like these Mel boards or these Silas anti boards, like be able to get to that point healthy and afford a lot of these like these units for these very expensive boards that you can't really do. So you get like triple combat, it feels kind of rough because you may be strong for a bit, but it feels like you kind of fall off to these other boards that get these econ prismatic augments.
Definitely. It does feel like to get to that legendary cap boards, and because those unlocks happen getting so much easier with the last patch, you really need that early econ boost to maybe get to like a strong early game board, and then you can fast 9 or just sack a little bit of your HP and still go fast 9 to those legendaries. But definitely agree with you that that's kind of what we'll be looking for in our 2-1 augment selection.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think that what becomes interesting too is when you get to the second and third augment, do we get more prismatics? Do we dip down in value? Because this isn't, I think it's Seraphine, right? That's prismatic party, where you know going in that you're going to get all of them. So you could like, that's also where it falls, where it's like you don't get that econ one, where it's like you're kind of hoping to get prismatic second to then be able to catch up to those other players. But you may just end up with like silvers and not be able to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit underwhelming to see a silver like second or third augment being like, oh shoot, there's no chance for me to really catch up to that econ difference or have a little bit of extra combat boost so that you can at least win some of those stage 4 fights. But going into 2-1 augment, there is the econ augment that we've been talking about, upward mobility. How are we feeling about, the various prismatic econ options here? We have going long, we have upward mobility, level up. How are those looking for you, Cora?
I think they're kind of some of like the weaker econ ones in terms of what thinking. I still like, I think level up is pretty good. I think upward mobility feels a bit weak in comparison. Going long, I think used to be like the best augment in the game, and they've like took several swings at it.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's still really good, but it's one of those where it's like, it used to feel better, it used to feel good. So like, it's one of those where it's like that kind of perceived lost value, even if it is still one of the stronger ones. But yeah, deciding to go for the extra artifacts there. But
Mhm.
looking over here at Malala, I think Prismatic Ticket is another like big call out in the current meta. I've heard a lot of people being like, "Oh, 3-cost reroll meta is back." I'm still pretty sus about that. I don't think it really is. I think there's
Yeah.
just like Darius is really strong. And Darius pairs well with, now that he's like so easy to unlock. He pairs with like the Blanc, the Ari boards, and just like I've seen a Darius 1v1 a Baron and win. So it's like
Oh my gosh.
it feels like it's Darius meta, not 3-cost reroll meta to me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. 3-cost reroll feels a little bit hard to uh compete against those high cap like 5-cost, 7-cost legendary boards. But at the same time, we did see some success with Malzahar reroll, with the Leona frontline. There are a lot of AP lines that you can take with golden tickets, so maybe you can go a little bit uncontested in some of these lines. But again, I think it'll all depend on what we get for our second and third augments, and if we can get maybe a triple prismatic lobby, or if it'll be a little bit less in power level wise.
Yeah, and we see here Malala holding the Aphelios, which also makes think, are we going for like, are we just leaving it as an option for like the Aphelios Ishtal like reroll board that is also very strong? Or are we like, is it just like, holding if like we don't see any of the units, we don't go for it? It could be a Bard roll down. Like there's still a lot of options with this prismatic ticket that I think is like, there's a lot of value in taking it there.
Definitely. Let's take a look at Konda's board. I'm interested to see what worth the wait he got. Looks like he got a Cho'Gath. This Void Kaisa line seems a lot weaker in the past couple of patches compared to when cups were going on and Void Kaisa was kind of the default out of fast 8 4-cost builds that folks would go for. But given the changes in like the unlocks and the power levels of those legendaries, I wouldn't be so happy going into, your stage 2 game setup with a Shojin and kind of this 2-star Cho'Gath frontline. What do you think?
Yeah, I think taking worth the wait and then getting Cho'Gath, that's when you start pulling up Team Planner. It's like, could I have got a worse option here? Like, is this the like you start considering, like, you just kind of like in a turn, like in my solo queue games, that's fine. Be like, oh, I low rolled whatever. In tourney, you have to like set all that aside, and you have to be like, all right, now what can I do? How can I what can I do to actually still place well and like salvage every position from this spot? Because it does not feel like a winning formula here.
Oh, definitely. Especially compared to what other folks have taken, like Comeback Story from Kiyun, we have Trade from JRC. Like, they are definitely going for 4 or 5 costs, fast 9, fast 8. So compared to that, the Cho'Gath and Kaisa setup feels a little bit weaker. So we'll see what Konda or how he sets up his gameplay going into stages 3 and 4.
Agreed. And I also don't call out looking at all the augments. Maybe I don't have a read on the meta. Maybe everyone got bad ones, but there's no econ ones besides Prismatic Ticket. So maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it's just augment selection. Would have to see more, but I feel like there's a lot of options still that can go towards it. So I think it's one of those that also feels better, where like, even if it is like econ is stronger, you kind of look around and it's like, oh, well, nobody else has econ. So it's like, I don't need it to also compete. So like you can go for more like these like high cap boards of like what can actually hit around and like maybe kind of high roll there.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen these pro players really love taking spat augments. Like Trade that we're seeing here from JRC, we've seen someone take Tactician's Kitchen. But those augments can really give strong early game direction and where we're headed, and also spats are a lot more flexible going into like the past few patches. So we'll have to see what kind of late game boards these players end up pivoting into. Meanwhile, Bobster kind of sacking his stage 2, trying to go for the Forged in Strength with a Horizon focus. Who can hold this? Looks like going into a Warwick setup potentially with the early Jinx.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who who from unlike the Warwick board even like really stuns though? The Swain can use it unless like you're really hoping for a high roll like Silvermere Dawn Horizon Focus Singed, and then
Right.
it's like, okay, yes, you're good. You're set there. Which, hey, we're getting 3 more artifacts, like maybe. But that's like a lot to bank on to go that route to see these items and kind of go towards that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if that is what they end up going. These items are kind of like, I think, not necessarily great for Warwick.
Yeah.
It'll all depend on what hit off carousel, but maybe that's where it's just like, I don't have direction. I need my 3 artifacts ASAP so I can actually get a direction and then hopefully just like streak from there.
Yeah, definitely. It seems more of like slam tank items and see what kind of direction post stage 3 carousel will bring to Bobster. Maybe hoping for early Singed unlock or going for the 3/5 Warwick unlock as well if we do have that early drinks, but still keeping some lines open. Meanwhile, Kiyun here with Comeback Story. None of his items are slammed. I'm curious to see what he's going to play from this spot.
Yeah, I think Kiyun played this really well. He had Comeback Story. The lobby, some of this lobby, there are others also trying to like int their board a little bit and not like necessarily win streak. So he's like the ultimate lost streak player that weaker than them all. Played the 3 Ionia. We saw earlier, we didn't touch on that. It is the XP Ionia. So 3 Ionia from the start, just be able to farm all that gold while maintaining lost streak. Like we see he's level 5. I don't think he put any gold into getting to level 5. Or just, I think just 4 gold is all it took.
Yeah.
From the Ionia bonus. And so just there's so much value there, and he's going to be so strong from that Comeback Story value as like once he finds that direction and where his board is going.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, and Fan the Kiki here with Boozer Spat. Looking like he's going into a Boozer Invoker setup. I think this line is super, super strong going into this patch with the cap with the Freylord Rise, with the Volibear unlock being a little bit easier. What are your thoughts on Fan Spot currently? We're sitting at 3-1. Kind of, what do you think about the setup?
I think it looks really good. I think this, like, we've looked at a lot of these boards and we're like, they don't necessarily have like a full set direction. I think Fan the Kiki has that like great value here, being at that 100 streak, already having direction with like the Bruiser Spat, the extra Fawn, being able to, like you said, go for like the Rise, the Volibear, like kind of already have that game plan set and have that HP. We have a bunch of, like, we have a couple of upgrades, we have strong units on our bench, like we see the Tarek, we have Sejuani pair, like just kind of holding everything. This is one of those where it's like, I wouldn't do this in tourney. My solo I'm like, Cursed Crown, 3 extra units. Let's do this. I'm curious if they actually go for it, but I feel like it's so hard to go for that in tourney. But when you're at 100 HP, you're streaking, you're doing it, you could punish the lobby so hard, especially some of these like players that are like kind of lost streaking. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you would do so much damage to these, where it's like one of those where it's like you consider taking it. Ends up going with Hold the Line, which I think is one of those that value is like so much stronger when you have that extra like Tactician's Crown to be able
Definitely.
to like get an extra unit. Hold the Line just wants to go fast 9, get as many units put on the board to give as much value to as many units as you can. So I do like that take there. Also, I would have loved Cursed Crown, but I'll never see anyone take it.
Yeah, especially in a tournament setting, it's a little bit harder for us to spot the Cursed Crown spot. But looking at Kiyun's spot, he took Tiniest Titan. He is sitting
I'm
a little
wondering
low.
if that works with Comeback Story. I'm not sure if it's like bonus HP. I don't remember the exact wording on Comeback Story, and we know how sometimes the wording can be a little bit off and not necessarily what to expect. So I'm curious if it gets that extra value from Comeback Story to like as you get down in the lower HPs. Like, is it still counting, or is he like kind of hurting his own value there?
Yeah, I think Comeback Story and Tiniest Titan, it has diminishing returns on the Comeback Story value because each loss, and then you're probably going to start winning a lot more rounds in later stages 3, stages 4 as you start to hit your key units. And then the Comeback Story kind of, it goes away and then it comes back in like waves. So a little bit counterintuitive, but I think Hyun decided he wants to survive a little bit longer to match the tempo of the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, and I think it gives you that extra bit of safety. Like, as you're going low in that comeback value, you don't have to worry too much about, like, okay, am I too low? Am I going to spike when I need to take advantage of that? You're like, okay, I've got a breather. I've got an extra, like, 2 losses in me to, like, figure out my board and, like, get to that point. Especially with this Ionia, getting the extra XP every turn, it's like, oh, I get 2 more turns to be able to go, say, level 9, buy all these upgrades. So it's like, even if it's, like, they counteract each other, it's like, it still makes sense.
Definitely. Meanwhile, I think we spotted Malala with an AP Yasuo with a Bard on his board, so I'm curious to see where he goes with this setup. I'm honestly have no idea where this board is headed given the current meta. Maybe it could be an AP like Ari and Yone direction with the 2-star Yasuo.
If I had to guess, it might be the Ari LeBlanc board, but at the same time doesn't have like the LeBlanc going, and it could be one of those playing the 5 Ionia to get the extra XP now. We switch it over to like, we have Adaptive for Darius, we have JG for like Ari, we have the extra rerolls from Bard, we have Prismatic that you want to take advantage of. Like, you don't ever see people with Prismatic going that past 9. And then we already have the Wukong and Kennen for that board, so it's like, that's the route I see. But we're missing all the Noxus units for it, so I don't know if like try to go toward that or not. But I do think that is an option. But it
Definitely.
looks like no, we're going 7. We're probably playing these stronger units that we're holding, but we rolled all the way down to 0. So maybe he was trying to plan to play this LeBlanc Darius and didn't see a single Draven or Scion, which makes it a bit difficult.
Definitely. He also saw an early Azir, which he sold immediately. I would personally do the same if I were in his spot. It's a little bit too risky for a tournament format. But going up against another Noxus setup, so the Darius can be contested if he is going for that Darius front line.
Yeah, and that Darius is going to be a monster on the other side. Having the Titans, the Adaptive, and you normally see a Sterix, but I would take a Radiant VT over Sterix every time given the option.
Definitely. Oh, and looks like Kiyun is going into a Warwick line with a Guinsoo on the Jinx. That is going to pump out so much damage.
Oh,
as we
and
start
having
to-
the Juggernaut spat. I don't know when he picked that up, but I'm pretty sure Juggernaut spat Warwick is like one of the best users.
Definitely. Juggernaut Warwick, super, super strong with the extra durability and health coming from the other Juggernauts as well. So his frontline is going to be absolutely massive while the Jinx pumps out increasing amounts of damage with the Guinsoo, and potentially Gunslinger coming in a future board. We have a 7 Zon setup right now, but we're looking to drop down to 5 Zon, 3 Zon, and start to fill in those with Val units like Lucian Senna and Kindred.
Agreed. And then looking over on the other side, Bobster being at 38 health, this next turn he's going to cash out this Forged in Strength. So I'm really curious to see what his 3 artifacts he ends up getting from this.
Oh, it looks like
Forged in
he
Strength
already
at 40,
cashed
it looks
out.
like he already has several.
Yeah. I think I saw a Luden's as well as an Eternal Ring.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the Eternal Promise. Did they change? Maybe that's an augment that got changed. I didn't notice. I thought it was at 35 HP. Maybe it was 40 and already cashed out.
Yeah, I think they changed it this patch. So he already has his 3 items. Still not sure what kind of setup he's going for. Levels immediately to try and roll for something, or
Yeah, and having the
doing here, Buster?
Pandoras mentioned, like with that Fortune Strength, any of these bad artifacts you're able to like reroll. I'm surprised we're not rerolling the Horizon Focus because, like I said, I don't think there's. Maybe I'm unaware of there being like a great like holder of that item here. But it seems like one you just kind of reroll to like get more consistent value out of.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what he goes for. It could also just be like potential fiddlesticks in the near future. Albeit we are still at level 7 and a little bit far away from hitting level 8 and actually rolling down. And over here with GG9's board, we're still on a Darius 1, which is a little bit unfortunate considering how much gold we've already rolled. And there's the Darius 2. Huge upgrade from this board. Draven 2 looking to print out so much gold, and 5 Noxus looking incredibly strong in the mid game.
Yeah, this Darius, even being 2-star, is going to be incredibly difficult to kill at the moment. So like able to spike there, getting the extra like hemorrhage bonus from the, or like the gold bonus for Draven, the Blood Brothers pact will help out a lot to kind of regain that econ that we had to spend so much gold just for a 2-star Darius. But we can see this unit's not even dropping below half health.
Definitely. Even compared to the 3-star Cho'Gath, it's just not taking any damage. And
The other side, you just have a 3-star Cho'Gath, and you're like, I could just have this 9-cost Darius over here.
Bobster immediately taking reinforcement. We'll see
Going to
what he
level
does.
8 with no gold either, but having all those rerolls, taking the Garen, I mean, maybe just not wanting to full greed and just taking the first thing get, but I don't really see how he salvages this.
Yeah, this spot is looking rough for Bobster. Maybe we're going for a temporary Demacia setup until we can get to the level 9 Arcanist board with the Silas. And that could be a reasoning for why he chose to look at the Garen and get it from his reinforcement. Gets the early Annie, although there's not really spot Mortivers on this board yet. And a lot of items left to slam.
That is true. I forgot that, like, I didn't even consider, oh, it's the Garen. It's an immediate Silas 2, or not Silas 2, a Silas 1 from reinforcement. However, I think he recognizes, hey, I can't sell this. I need the strength right now so I don't die. Because I'm pretty sure that's all his frontline right now. So he needs some other upgrades so that he can then trade that out for that Silas later. But it still looks like it might not even be enough. Like I said, here's our 9-cost Darius on the other side.
Darius is looking mighty strong, and Bobster falling to two health. That is 1 life before stage 4 carousel. This is looking super, super rough.
Yeah, it definitely feels like this lobby was a very split between the top and the bottom. Of like, it felt like the players on the bottom just could not get their rolls, could not get their like boards going. Ones at the top had direction from the start, knew where they were gonna take their boards and how to like pilot from that point. But yeah, some of these boards, maybe it's just being new patch. There's so many options, so many flex that it felt kind of difficult to kind of like find the right angle.
Yeah, definitely. And JRC, we saw this player going for an early Ishtal setup. Looks like they cashed out of the Ishtal, going into a T-Hex. We know that last patch was Piltover land. They kind of nuked T-Hex back into the ground. But excited to see a little bit more of an unconventional Piltover setup with that Piltover spat on the Lysandra.
Yeah, we have AP Dino for this turn. throwing on the Thieves Glove. Not the items you necessarily want to roll, but I think with like the nerfs kind of to that T-Hex, but still getting it on for like your 6 Piltover board, like throw a Thieves Glove on it, whatever it rolls. Like he's not the star of your Piltover show anymore.
Definitely. Going into stage 4 carousel, are there any units that if you're any of these players are looking at?
For Bobster here, I think you definitely kind of want that Annie and try and hope that you get Annie to like just kind of high roll. Said we go for the Zillion. I'm not sure if that was necessarily just for the cloak. I don't think you're really throwing Zillion on that board, but I think it like the 2 HP, it's kind of hard to necessarily stabilize, and it's like, but if you hit Annie too, maybe. But that's kind of a high roll there.
Yeah, definitely. I'd also love to look at Conda's setup a little bit more because it looks like he chose Winout for his second Prismatic, which signals that he might be going for the Baron, but our board is not looking as strong compared to the other players, so it might be just a matter of whether he can survive to level 9 to get to level 10 and then cap out his board with Baron 2.
He'll probably be level 9 on 5-1. I don't see him dying before then. He's also getting, we hit that Cho'Gath 3 pretty early, and then that augment just becomes, hey, an extra 2 gold per turn, which not the worst. I mean, that's basically Kyun's Tiny Titan said, giving the gold every turn. Instead of HP, we got a Cho'Gath 3, so it's like similar trade-off to also get that extra gold on the side.
Yeah, for sure. Malala going up against Bobster. This Mel is doing a lot of work here. And the Garen with the Dusk artifact kind of putting in a lot of tank effort as well to carry Bobster, hopefully to stage 5. Hopefully he doesn't fight anyone too strong in stage 4 so that he can go for that 1 life comeback. And
Yep.
meanwhile, Kian rolling down, hoping for a Jinx 3 and a Warwick upgrade.
Feels like one of those where it's like, you're so close to hitting everything, and the Kindred 2 in shop or Kindred pair that you can't really fit on your board. He probably ends up selling because I don't think he's making it to 8 anytime soon.
Definitely.
So it's like, but I don't think he's dead this turn. He'll be able to econ a little bit for the next 2. I'm surprised he kind of rolled that deep for it. But we'll see if he ends up hitting after creep round.
Yeah, definitely feels a little bit bad because we have that lesser champion dupe on bench and just having 7 Jinx, 7 Mundo, just so painful to not have any 3 stars going into stage 4 neutrals.
This Garen has done so much work for Bobster, but it looks like this might be the end of the line for it. It was like so close getting there to stabilize. It's like, that's one of those where it's like, you could have died like 4 turns ago, it felt like, and it's like, you did everything to like kind of salvage it. Like you played well to kind of find your out and to like kind of save it. And then you still went 8th. Like those are the ones that are like so like painful where it's like, why did I put in all that extra work for no gain? But like good showing there to recognize Garen 2 was able to stabilize it for long enough and then just kind of didn't quite hit the rolls after.
Yeah, definitely. He did have to play around some less than ideal artifacts after he procced the Forged in Strength, and then just an incredible showing in stage 4, but unfortunately was not enough to push him through to stage 5 and go for the more capped, like Silas unlocked, Annie 2, the boards that we're used to seeing in like the endgame version of the Arcanist board.
Yeah, and here with Kyun on his roll down, hitting the Mundo 3, we're one off Singed, 1 off Warwick, 2 on Jinx. Like we're so close to being able to like spike there. We hit the Jinx, which is
That's a
huge. So
upgrade.
like he is stable. I think like he should win out against most of these boards. Hopefully I'm not caster cursing him there, but those are some big upgrades that he needed at that moment, having to go all the way down to 0.
Definitely. Q
And on the
going
other
up with
side, we do see the
Honda.
Baron.
That is a Baron on 5-1.
So it did look like it was just, he's at 0 gold. It looks like, I don't know how much he rolled after he hit level 10, but it was like just enough gold to get there. Like I said, hitting it on 5-1. But Kyun hitting these upgrades just in time, otherwise it would not have been enough. Barely winning that fight.
Oh, that was so close. Konda needs to hit that Baron too and upgrade the rest of his board to fight against a lot of 3-cost reroll. I know we said, hey, 5-cost legendary is the meta, but looks like our players have a slightly different meta read, considering how much reroll and 3-cost carries we've been seeing this game.
Yeah,
and there's the Baron too.
Oh, that's huge for Konda. Like that's one of those where it's like, okay, now he's kind of the one that like kind of beats everyone, is what it feels like. But to your point on the 3-cost reroll, is when you see like 1 or 2 other players going for it, you can kind of look, can I also play it? Because the more people that are playing it makes it so much easier for you to like hit your own unit. So it's like, oh, I can play the uncontested line of it. And so all of them are like helping each other hit.
Definitely, that's a great point. Will the Baron 2 win against the Darius 3? I know you mentioned that you've seen a Darius
It's
with a
close.
Baron.
It's
Close.
It might be able to. It was almost there. Like, I think if he had on the other side, if had that upgrade for the LeBlanc 3 on the back, like it would have been enough to take it down.
Definitely. And looking on Kian's side, that Jinx 3 is just putting in so much work against those beefy front lines that our players are slowly kind of putting together.
Also, on comment on Malala's board here, this like going into the 7 Ionia, playing around that Ari reroll. I don't know if that was his plan from the start. Like we said, the more common line is playing that Ari Darius. Maybe he saw the other Darius was taken. He missed all the units because when we saw a bit of his roll, he didn't hit any of the Noxus units. So if that was his plan, it's a great call for him to like find the other angle to play, still play around the Ahri and find the other out. If that was his plan from the start, also smart, because that's a line that I've not really seen Ahri going for the full vertical Ionia, but looking fairly strong there.
Definitely. The XP Ionia version is one of the stronger ones I've heard, playing into those like 3-cost reroll boards that cap often with the 4 and 5 costs in the Ionia vertical. So very well played by actually all of our 3-cost reroll players. They were kind of towing a tricky line between, oh, am I going fast 8 AP? Am I going reroll? If so, which reroll line should I take? So, you know, it's regionals. We're gonna see our top players pull out the best of the best performance that they've had from, you know, their past cup experiences. So, super exciting TFT being played here.
Agree, and that's what's so exciting about this patch when like there is a big shakeup to the meta, changing all of these unlocks. Like so many of these boards were not possible to have really seen throughout the set. Like I've tried playing some of these like Darius, like I've played the Darius Ahri board before on the last patch. I played a game of like Darius LeBlanc reroll in like the GA tournament. What was it, 2 weeks ago? And it was one of those, I don't know if they caught on PvE round where it's like, okay, I'm having to switch out all of my board in one PvE round to like Ionia to unlock the Kennen, and then on another round switch to all these bruisers to unlock the Kobuko, and then also having to farm the gold from Draven. Like it's so much work to get all those unlocks, and like if hit them all, it's like strong, but you hit later because it takes long to like do all that before you can start farming those units. This patch, it like rewards that level of like ingenuity and like making these boards that makes this set, I feel like, takes it to the next level. That it's so much more fun being able to play all these different boards that like we've not been able to see yet, and this feels like the strength of this set. Yeah,
Definitely. The set started out with a little bit of like, oh, is this really being flexible? Like these unlock Kennen and Kabuko specifically for the Yordles. The star levels were very, very